Hello, hello. How we doing? We had fun fishing on the starting soon screen. Mate, what is that? Is that someone exploding? Hmm. Pong. Okay, so my plan for today is we're gonna read some Crowley, which we haven't done for a while. Hi Chris! Oh, I also thought that while we're reading Crowley, we can maybe put Wobble Dogs on auto in the background, because, like, I've been wanting to see where it goes, but I don't want to dedicate, like, an entire stream to just, like, playing it, if you know what I mean. Hi, Vomi, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little bit EP, but that's okay, because we're just gonna vibe. But before any of that, I have something else for us to do. Boop. I'm sorry if this ends up feeling kind of claustrophobic. I didn't want to get the entire table out just for this. But we've got some Magick the Gathering boosters. And they're not mine, they're my friends. But I can probably convince him to let me keep any pretty boys, maybe. Some pretty boys. But we got Too Much the Machines, which is the Phyrexian one, which should be fun. And then one Innistrad vampire-y situation, which I think I'm gonna have last because I don't know. Gambling? Look, I didn't pay for these, and I'm also, you know, I have no stake in this, except for boys, potentially. Magic cards have, like, massively gone down in value. Like, the values of them have gone really weird. Because they made so many different variants of things, like, there's not just regular cards anymore. It's regular cards, and then special ones, and then different kinds of special ones. And only one of those iterations of the card is likely to actually be worth something. So everything else is really cheap. It's either, like, pennies or super expensive. There's, like, no in between anymore, which is wild. When I was out the other day playing Magic, I actually bought a bunch of cards because they were so much cheaper than I expected them to be, even though I barely play now. But anyway, let's open a couple boosters. And by a couple, I mean 3, which isn't a couple, that's a few.
Sausage roll.
Thank you for the sausage roll. Why can't I open this? I'm actually, like, looking at the screen and not at the object in front of me so that I'm not looking down, and also then you can actually... I know that you can see if I'm looking at it. Ah! Okay. What is that fish? A ray! Oh my goodness! Does that mean that this is gonna have a Leggy in it? Unwrapping stream? Hi SB! Okay. It's really hard to get this in frame. Mantas are great, I love them. Thought it was a Chocky bar at first? No! It's Magic cards! Okay. Piece of shit. A piece of shit. I mean, they're the commons, but who cares? There could be some cool artwork. You gotta pray for cool artwork. That's Ren! I love Ren! But it's a red card, it can get in bin. A Merfolk in the set? Okay. Crane game token. Oh, we're on to uncommons now. What is this? What is that a picture of? That's someone being, like, turned into something, probably, because that's what the Phyrexians do. Fish game hates me. You got a crane game token. You don't want that? Is that good? Is that good? See, I don't know anymore. Wait. Another Leggy? Croissant Shark? That's gotta be one of the best things I've ever seen. I love a croissant. I love a shark. That's amazing. Wow. And then we've got this crazy artwork. I don't know if this is normal for this. I meant the card, but the fish also. I mean, yeah. What is this anyway? Rankle and Torban. Flying First Strike Haste. Whenever Rankle and Torban deal combat damage to a player or battle, choose any number. Each player creates a treasure token. If each player sacrifices a creature, and if a source would deal damage to a player or battle this turn, it deals that much damage +2 instead. Bit random. I would use the app that like prices up stuff for you, but I'm actually using my phone as the camera right now. So yeah. Art on the card looks pretty. It does. Who's the artist? Omar Rayan. Skateboard. I don't know why there's more cards after the rare. That's not how it used to be. And then we've got a battle, which is weird. I don't like cards that make it a different way up. I don't like it that it's horizontal. I don't like that. What's this? Is this good? This one's got a funny border as well. Does that mean it's good? I don't know. I don't know anymore. It's different. Everything's strange. It's an Orzhov card. Is it any good? Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. I mean, sure. Sure is a Magic card. Swiftwater Cliffs. That artwork looks kinda... I don't know. I don't know what that tower is. And a treasure token. This man is very surprised by what he's holding. He's like, oh? Rankle and Torban is 0.8 euros. Let's go. Love that. Bro got almond carts? You said that last time. Okay. Or pondering? Yeah. More cards! More cards! But yeah, like I said, the Magic cards are fucking worthless now. Unless it's like the one special card that people want, whatever that may be. I have no idea. I don't know. Saying it again, want to fight about it? Nah, I'm too tired to fight. This one's got a Phyrexian token on the back, for some reason. Phyrexian token. It's pretty cool, actually. I kind of like that. The Phyrexians look rad. Correction, all the ones you open are worthless now? Look. Some of the ones from my collection are actually worth way more than they used to be, so... Also, once again, these aren't my cards. These are my friend's cards. I'm giving them back to him once I'm done opening them. I'm just doing this for fun. A cat druid? Meow. Preening champion? He's the best at preening himself. Phyrexian goblin. This fucking Kithkin's riding a goat. As you do. What is this? Oh, it's just an uncommon. This is the rare. What we got? When Guardian of Girafur enters the battlefield, exile up to one other target creature or artifact you control. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Isn't this a reprint? I feel like I've heard of this before. It's pretty. Is that another rare? No, that's uncommon. I couldn't see. Wait, does this flip? Oh, it does flip. Ooh. And then we got another battle. Battle. I don't get it. I'm so out of the loop. What is this? Is that good? It looks really kind of ugly. Hi Valduk, Keeper of Flame. What's your deal? The beginning of combat on your turn. For each aura and equipment attached to Valduk, Keeper of the Flame, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Wow. We love red cards. Ooh, a shiny Tranquil Grove. Ooh. You should eat one of the cards. I had a friend who would occasionally eat cards that she hated out of spite. I think she must have ended up ingesting quite a bit of ink. Blossoming Sands. Incubator. Wow. Iconic, love her. Well, that was the Phyrexian ones. I don't know if any of that was good. But whatever. Now we're gonna do fucking Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Innistrad is all about vampires, but I think the ones in this set are like, they might be kind of ugly. I don't remember. But there is potential for pretty boys because vampires are involved. Get out of my way, rappers. A jack-o'-lantern! Wait, what? Look, it's a jack-o'-lantern. Sacrifice jack-o'-lantern. Exile up to one target card from a graveyard. Draw a card. Exile jack-o'-lantern from your graveyard. Add 1 mana of any color. That's so weird! It's smiling? Yeah! Wouldn't you be smiling if you were a jack-o'-lantern? Jack-o'-lantern is the prettiest boy. A man. A woman going, Candle trap. Trapping them in candles. There's a vampire, but it's a lady. Blood Pact. I think that's a reprint. I'm not sure. Locked in the cemetery. How did you fit your head through those bars? Do you need the fire brigade to come and help you? Candlelit cavalry. Harvest-tide infiltrator. Oh, a werewolf! Flippy's into a dog. Door stuck. Blade-stitched scarb. Other zombies you control get +1/+0. Ooh, zombie tribal. Broodweaver. Infernal grasp. Grasping the fuck out of this guy's head. Ludwig Necrogenius. This man's a fucking mad scientist. Look at him with all his containers of boys and pipes and tubes. Always love tribal decks in card games. There are so many different tribes in Magic now. They're making tribal synergy for everything. Whenever Ludwig Necrogenius enters the battlefield or attacks, mill a card. Exile X creature cards from your graveyard. Transform Ludwig. X can't be 0. Wait. Transform him into what? What is that? He's like turned himself into some kind of like chimera thing. That's nuts. Cat tribal decks are the best. You can do cat tribal in Magic. As this creature transforms into Olag Ludwig's Hubris, becomes a copy of a creature card exiled with it, except its name is Olag Ludwig's Hubris. It's a 4/4. It's legendary blue and black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Put a number of 1/1 counters on Olag equal to the number of creature cards exiled with it. This is so weird. But okay. And I saw that we got a really funky island. Funky full-out island. I love that. That's really pretty. There's like tentacles coming out of the water. Very nice. And a shiny Vanquish the Horde. Horrible white card. Spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Destroy all creatures. Formie loves a tentacle? Yeah, hell yeah, I do. Woohoo, shiny red, that's probably worthless. A human token with a pumpkin. That's pretty fun. Why didn't they release this around Halloween? What the fuck? This is a new-ish set. And then this is a proxy card. Delightful. Well, there we go. I don't know if we got anything good. I like the island. The island was rad. That was honestly my favorite thing. It was just a fucking basic land. It's just this fucking island. 7-day average for foil Vanquish the Horde is €4. Woohoo! €4. That pays for the pack. But the other packs, not so much. Now I've got a big stack of cards. Yeah, Gamba. Gamba. Yeah, I don't reckon anything here is too spicy. Honestly, the island is the coolest thing. The rest of it's a bit, I don't know. Anyway, that was fun. It's always fun to open packs, even if you don't get anything. It's just fun. I considered buying some packs while I was there, but I spent so much money on singles that I was like, maybe I shouldn't. So, maybe next time. Okay. Let's get rid of my hand cam. Boop. Alright. I also have to move my keyboard because I had to shove it way out of the way to make space for that. Do 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 do. Okay. Oops. Sorry, I'm shuffling things around. Do 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 do. Okay. Let's get Wobble Dogs up. Just have it doing its own thing while I read some silly Crowley nonsense. There it is. Okay, I turned the sound off. We can have sound effects. I don't want to put music on because I've got some, what is it called? I forgot what it's called. Thelemic meditation music. Or thelemic? I don't know how you would pronounce that. But some Crowley meditation music to have on in the background. Right, we're gonna put this on auto.
Give us a kiss.
A kiss? Okay. Mwah. Well, they're already fucking biting each other. Give me this. Don't just leave that on the floor. Okay. Automation. On. I think it's on. Is it on? Is this thing on?
Fucking Beatles. Fucking Beatles.
Okay. Let me get my funny music on. Right. It's just like weird ambient shit. Apparently it's spiritual healing sounds and frequencies. Wow. Okay, the sounds are a little bit loud. I just want to hear like a bit of it to alert me when something happens. Can you hear the spiritual healing, or do I need to turn it up? Aloe vera? Where did that come from? Okay. It's a bit quiet. Doo-doo-doo. How about now? Don't knock over my drink with my giant book. Okay. Okay, so we only got through the introduction last time we read this, and that was quite a while ago. I might have to get my camera back out at some point, because there are images in this occasionally. I just got wide achievement! Wide! 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 Okay. One of them is like inside out right now. I'm getting slightly distracted by the dogs. Okay. Anyways. A Crowley chronology. 1875, October 12th, Aleister Crowley born at Leamington Spa, Warwickshire between 11 PM and midnight. See figure 27, page 604 for his horoscope. Okay, we'll look at that when we get there. I'm not gonna skip ahead for that kind of shit. 1886, Aleister Crowley's father, Edward Crowley, dies. 1895, matriculation to Trinity College, Cambridge, inherits £50,000, more than $2 million in today's money, from his father's estate upon coming of age. That's nuts. No wonder he could just travel the fucking world. 1896, December 31st, Crowley decides to pursue mysticism and occultism. 1897, begins reading The Alchemists, Mystics, and Books on Magic. 1898, Aesladama? Crowley's first book of poetry published. Crowley left Cambridge and began reading Kabbalah Denudata in Zermatt, where he meets Frater D.A. Julian L. Baker. Meets Gerald Kelly, his future brother-in-law. September, Julian Baker introduces Crowley to Frater Volo Nossier. George Cecil Jones. Jones introduces Crowley to S.L. McGregor's Mathers and Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. November 18th, initiated into the Golden Dawn, Necrophyte grade 0 equals 0, and took the magical name Frater Perdurabo. Do I need a magical name? I might need a magical name. November to December, astral traveling with Frater Volo Nossier. Crowley's first read the book Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage. December, Zealotograde taken 1 equals 10. I don't know what these things mean. 1899, January, Crowley meets Alan Bennett, Frater Iehi Our. There's too many vowels in this. Among the members of the Golden Dawn. Soon after, Bennett went to live with Crowley and acted as his instructor in magic. And then he goes up a bunch of grades. Portal grade. After compulsory wait of 7 months. Buys Boleskine House, Loch Ness, in order to perform first part of Abramelin. 1900. This man saw through a, what's the word? A century. Not quite a millennia, but you know. Pretty cool. Initiated by Mathers in Paris as an Adeptus Minor, taking the magical motto Christios Lucifitus. Or Lucifitus? Crowley applies to the Second Order in London for the documents connected with his initiation in Paris, but is refused. Alan Bennett leaves for Ceylon to become a Buddhist monk. Crowley leaves for Mexico. 1901, Crowley's in Mexico, becomes a Mason. Masonic initiation. 1902, he travels to India. He practices yoga. 1903, Crowley at Boleskine in Scotland attempt the operation of Abramelin. Oh, that was the ritual he was trying to do, and then he gave up on because he like went to bang some lady or something. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead. He founded the AA in 1907. Oh my god. No! I lost my place. Am I good? Did I do it? I'm fine. Okay. Rose divorces Crowley in 1909. Wait, how long were they together for? Wait. When did they get married? Where the fuck is it? I can't see it. I can't see it. In 1904, they have their honeymoon, but I don't actually see the marriage. So they were together for what, 3 years? No, 5 years. 5 years. Crowley goes to America in 1914. Crowley takes up painting in 1917. Bro, do we get to see any of his paintings? I want to see his paintings. 1919, return to England and the adoption of the heroin habit. Publication of Diary of a Drug Fiend in 1922. Absolute fiend. Oh, Crowley marries someone else in 1930. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, he became bankrupt in 1935. Oh my god, Crowley. It all went to shit. In 1945, Crowley retires to Netherwood, Hastings. In 1947, Crowley dies at Netherwood. And then The Last Ritual and Cremation in Brighton. The Last Ritual? Sag, poor Crowley, literally? Yeah. Okay. Here's where it actually starts. Book 4, Part 1, Meditation, brackets, Yoga, which is what this lovely music's for. Then there's an original cover, but it's not very interesting, so I'm not going to bother showing you. A note. This isn't much of a note. This is an entire page of writing. This book is intentionally not the work of Frater Perdurabo. Experience shows that his writing is too concentrated, too abstruse, too occult for ordinary minds to apprehend. It is thought that this record of disjointed fragments of his casual conversation may prove alike more intelligible and more convincing, and at least provide a preliminary study which will enable the student to attack his real work from a standpoint of some little general knowledge and understanding of his ideas, and of the form in which he figures them. Part 2, Magick, is more advanced in this style than Part 1. The student is expected to know a little of the literature of the subject and to be able to take an intelligent view of it. This part is, however, really explanatory of Part 1, which is a crude outline sketch only. If both parts are thoroughly studied and understood, the pupil will have obtained a real grasp of all the fundamentals and essentials of both magic and mysticism. Scary? Have a ghost show up, excuse me? Where's the ghost? A ghost? Where's the ghost? I didn't see a ghost. Anyway. Hang on, I need to turn the light on. I can't fucking see. There we go. I wrote this book down from Frater Perdurabo's dictation at the Villa Calderazzo, Posilopo, Nepal, where I was studying under him. A villa actually prophesied to us long before we reached Nepal by that brother of the AA who appeared to me in Zurich. Any point which was obscure to me was cleared up in some new discourse. The discourses have consequently been rearranged. Before printing, the whole work was read several persons of rather less than average intelligence, and any point not quite clear even to them has been elucidated. May the whole path now be plain to all. Oh my god. Oh, I think Drip just died. Rip. Rip Drip. Wait, is that the ghost? Wait, is that the ghost? It's the ghost of Salad. Why don't you have any legs? I guess ghosts don't have legs? Banish. Praise. Praise the ghost. Oh. 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 Goodbye. Salad is no longer wobbling. I mean, he's floating about. Okay. Sure thing. Anyway. Where am I? Frater Perdurabo is the most honest of all the great religious teachers. Others have said, believe me. He says, don't believe me. He does not ask for followers, would despise and refuse them. He wants an independent and self-reliant body of students to follow their own methods of research. If he can save them time and trouble by giving a few useful tips, his work will have been done to his own satisfaction. Those who have wished men to believe in them were absurd. A persuasive tongue or pen is an efficient sword. With rack and stake produce this belief, which is contrary to and destructive of all religious experience. The whole life of Frater Pejorabo is now devoted to seeing that you obtain this living experience of truth for by and in yourselves. There's too many commas. There's commas just everywhere. Soror Viricum. Oh, that's his, wait, was that his first wife? I think that was his first... No, his first wife was Rose. Who the fuck is Mary? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Right. Fucking Ghost is so silly. Book 4 by Frater Pejorabo and Soror Viricum. So that's Crowley and Mary. They're just using their funny magic names. Part 1, Meditation. The way of attainment of genius or godhead, considered as a development of the human brain. Issued by the Great White Brotherhood known as the AA. Witness our seal. N. Monstrator General. Interesting. Oh, N is in Nemo, no man. What? And then there's the sigil of the AA. Which I guess I could show you. But I feel would take too much effort. So I'm not going to. Preliminary remarks. Existence, as we know it, is full of sorrow. To mention only one minor point, every man is condemned criminal. Only he does not know the date of his execution. This is unpleasant for every man. Consequently, every man does everything possible to postpone the date, and would sacrifice anything that he has if he could reverse the sentence. Practically all religions and all philosophies have started thus crudely by promising their adherents some such reward as immortality. No religion has failed hitherto by not promising enough. The present breaking up of all religions is due to the fact that people have asked to see the securities. Men have even renounced the important material advantages which a well-organized religion may confer upon a state, rather than acquiesce in fraud or falsehood, or even in any system in which, if not proved guilty, is at least unable to demonstrate its innocence. Being more or less bankrupt, the best thing that we can do is attack the problem afresh without preconceived ideas. Let us begin by doubting every statement. Let us find a way of subjecting every statement to the test of experiment. Is there any truth at all in the claims of various religions? Let us examine this question. Our original difficulty will be due to the enormous wealth of our material. To enter into a critical examination of all systems would be an unending task. The cloud of witnesses is too great. Now each religion is equally positive, and each demands faith. This we refuse in the absence of positive proof, but we may usefully inquire whether there is not any one thing upon which all religions have agreed, for if so, it seems possible that it may be worthy of really thorough consideration. It is certainly not to be found in dogma. Even so simple an idea as that of a supreme and eternal being is denied by a third of the human race. Legends of miracle are perhaps universal, but these, in the absence of demonstrative proof, are repugnant to common sense. But what of the origin of religions? How is it that unproved assertion has so frequently compelled the asset of all classes of mankind? Is this not a miracle? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're just saying that religion is stupid, which I get, but do you have to put it into 50,000 words? Hi, Worm! Everyone say happy birthday to Worm. It's Worm's birthday. Happy birthday, Worm. Worm, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Worm. Have you had a good day so far, Worm? What just happened? New puppy. Ms. Biscuit has hatched. Back from my little outing in time for Wobble Dogs. It's Wobble Dogs on auto while I read Crowley. How do we feel about that? Also, do you want a free wheel spin for your birthday? Hang on, where'd I put my bookmark? There it is. I'm gonna spin you a wheel. Hell yeah! Let's go. Oops, sorry, I'm using my mouse, which activates dogs. Do 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 do. Birthday spin. Birthday spin. Don't do AHC. No, no. A doodle, I can do that. What do you want, worm? Birthday doodle, what do you want? Let me have a sip while you're thinking. You can't think of anything? No jam! Oh. Bye, jam. Usagi, hi, thank you for the follow. Come on, worm. That's a really shiny dog. Who the fuck is that? Wait, who are you? You're shiny. Where's my mouse gone? Who's this shiny one? Portable. It's so shiny. So many of these dogs are hungry. Why can't they feed themselves? Hi, hi. You can do this, worm. You can brain. Yeah, worm. Come on. It could be anything. I could draw one of your faves. I could do one of those things where you make me draw someone I like, but without any hair. I feel like there was something you were going to ask me to doodle, but I don't remember what it was. I'm not sure. Either way, I should probably open CSP, huh? You also don't remember. Well, you're going to have to think of something else. Unfortunately. Ewan is a safe bet, but I don't know if that's too much for a doodle. I can attempt to doodle Ewan. I could do a Ewan from memory. Would that be fun? So I don't have to look up a reference. And I'll get him horribly, horribly wrong. Show how much I've been paying attention to my friends' OCs. Right. The dogs are now hidden, but you're just gonna have to live with that. Right. Do 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 do. Okay. Excellent. Let me see how wonderfully you get this wrong. Alright. Alright. I can figure something out. I think he's got kind of like a strong jaw, right? Or am I just thinking that because he's got a beard? I don't know. I already fucking wangled this slightly. You believe in me? Thank you. I feel like it's misplaced belief, but thank you. He's got, like, these kind of ears. What does his face look like? What does his face look like? He's got like a sort of flat nose of some description, sort of like this, I think. He's got eyes. I know that for sure. He certainly does have eyes. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. You can't trick me. I knew that he had eyes. And he's got these pupils. I can hear a dog hatching or something. Does he have that? I don't think he has that. Eyebrows. You did this so quickly, I don't even know what it is you don't think he has. Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. Is it fuck. It's like I think he's got something like this going on. Think. But what if he does and I could tell you? Well, I gotta figure this out. I think his hair goes this way. I think it goes this way. I think his hair does that. And the reason why he looks weird is because he doesn't have a beard yet, so let's fix that. We're getting somewhere. It's a full one. It's a full one. Right? I think he's got more spotty bits on his ears. and then this is a plant, okay? I promise. I can never remember how to draw a plant properly. Ewan is the only time I've ever had to draw a plant. I don't know what happens over here. I don't know. I feel like I've forgotten something really important. Have I forgotten something important? Woof woof. Does he have shorter ones? Oh, woof woof meow. I could tell you something you've forgotten. Yeah, I think I think this is as far as I can get on my own. What I forget. And how important is it that I forgot it? Is this he? Did I do okay? I think you thought you remember that his lip is joined to his nose, but it is.
Hello? I say hello.
Wait, so there's no Tash? So it's like this. Hi, dear side. Is it like this? He needs to have eyelashes. There we go. Otherwise it's not a drawing by me. How's the cutest hornicorn on Twitch? I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? Did I get like this face bit right? He does have a wiggly bit, doesn't he? Or does it not connect? I feel like maybe it doesn't connect to the nose. Does it go over the nose? They don't go across the nose. Okay. Alright. So it's like this. Otherwise it's close as hell. Fuck yeah, dude! May I ask who you're drawing? This is Worms OC Ewan. Because Worm got a wheel doodle. Because it's their birthday. So they got a free wheel spin. So there's Ewan. There we go. Boop. Here are the dogs. And now back to Crowley. Let me minimize that so that I can see the dogs. There we go. Real ones remember Ewan from Vommy's Valentine's event? Oh yeah! I drew him without his hair in a plait though because I didn't want to draw the plait. So I let his hair down. Something I've never seen before. Ewan with his hair down. You went here for Valentine's? Oh. I think the art's still around somewhere. Did I put the Valentine stuff in the art channel? I don't remember if I did. I might not have done. It's on my Instagram, I think. If I was, it was my other self. Hi, Branwyn. What do you mean your other self, dear side? I'm concerned. And slightly afraid. Okay. Where did I get to? Who's that? Viscous. That dog is called Viscous. Oh, I hadn't even started this page yet. Okay. There is, however, one form of miracle which certainly happens, the influence of genius. There is no known analogy, fuck off, in nature. One cannot even think of a super dog transforming the world of dogs, whereas in the history of mankind this happens with regularity and frequency. Now here are three supermen, all at loggerheads. What is there in common between Christ, Buddha, and Muhammad? There is any one point... Oh, is there any one point upon which all three are in accord? Don't. Making a joke that I could have a split personality I don't know of, but we both come here to your channel. Oh. Fuck off with analogy. The way I have to read these books is like I've never read words before. So words that I do know, I then unknow and relearn incorrectly. No point of doctrine, no point of ethics, no theory of a hereafter do they share, and yet in the history of their lives we find one identity amid many diversities. Buddha was born a prince and died a beggar. Muhammad was born a beggar and died a prince. Christ remained obscure until many years after his death. Elaborate lives of each have been written by devotees, and there is one thing common to all three, an omission. We hear nothing of Christ between the ages of 12 and 30. Muhammad disappeared into a cave. Buddha left his palace and went for a long while into the desert. Each of them, perfectly silent up to the time of the disappearance, came back, immediately began to preach a new law. This is so curious that it leaves us to inquire whether the histories of other great teachers contradict or confirm. Moses led a quiet life until his slaying of the Egyptian. He then flees into the land of Midian, where we hear nothing of what he did there, yet immediately on his return he turns the whole place upside down. Later on, too, he absents himself from Mount Sinai for a few days, and comes back with the tables of the law in his hand. St. Paul, again, after his adventures to the road on the road to Damascus, goes into the desert of Arabia for many years, and on his return, overturns the Roman Empire. Even in the legends of savages we find the same thing universal. Somebody who is nobody in particular goes away for a longer or shorter period, and comes back as this great medicine man, but nobody ever knows exactly what happened to him. Making every possible deduction for fable and myth, we get this one coincidence. And nobody goes away and comes back as somebody. This is not to be explained in any of the ordinary ways. There is not the smallest ground for the contention of There is not the smallest ground for the contention that these were from the start exceptional men. Muhammad would hardly have driven a camel until he was 35 years old if he had possessed any talent or ambition. St. Paul had much original talent, but he is the least of the five. Nor so do they seem to have possessed any of the usual materials of power, such as rank, fortune, or influence. Do not piss on the fish. Oh man, you guys missed the shark croissant earlier. There was a shark-shaped croissant. That was very exciting. Moses was a rather big man in Egypt when he left, and came back as a mere stranger. Christ had not been to China and married the emperor's daughter. Muhammad had not been acquiring wealth and drilling soldiers. Buddha had not been consolidating any religious organizations. St. Paul had not been intriguing with an ambitious general. Each came back poor, each came back alone. What was the nature of their power? What happened to them in their absence? History will not help us to solve the problem, for history is silent. We have only the accounts given by the men themselves. It would be very remarkable should we find that these accounts agree. A big man Lee? Wait, what? My life will be complete when I catch a boot. There's a shoe, but no boot, I don't think. Can't wait for the shark-shaped Pain O chocolate. Sorry, I need to say it properly. The Pain O chocolate. Feels like a real-life version of Cult of the Lamb. Well, it kind of is. It's big, fun, culty fun times. I am obsessed. I want to make my own funny cult, so I'm researching. That's what this is. This is, hang on, how many pages? 748. Let me know when to get naked. I'm sure there will be something to do with that. It's as they say in French. C'est la vis. Let me join? Join my cult? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of everyone who is here is already in my cult. You've all joined, whether you know it or not. Where did I get to? Of the great teachers we have mentioned, Christ is silent. The other four tell us something, some more, some less. Buddha goes into details too elaborate to enter upon in this place, but the gist of it is that in one way or another he got hold of the secret force of the world and mastered it. Of St. Paul's experiences, we have nothing but a casual allusion to his having been caught up into heaven and seen and heard things of which was not lawful to speak. Muhammad speaks crudely of his having been visited by the angel Gabriel, who communicated things from God. Moses said that he beheld God. Diverse as these statements are at first sight, all agree in announcing the experience of the class which 50 years ago would have been called supernatural, today may be called spiritual, and 50 years hence will have a proper name based on understanding of the phenomenon which occurred. No. Sadly, that has not yet occurred, is a note there. Theorists have not been at a loss to explain, but they differ. Can I be an important member? Hey, oh powerful cult leader, when do I get to sleep? Make me a lord or some shit? Oh, bye, Blinky. Bye, Blinky. the Muhammadan insists that God is and did really send Gabriel with messages for Muhammad, but all others contradict him, and from the nature of the case, proof is impossible. The lack of proof has been so severely felt by Christianity, and in a much less degree by Islam, that fresh miracles have been manufactured almost daily to support the tottering structure. Modern thought, rejecting these miracles, has adopted theories involving epilepsy and madness, as if organization could spring from disorganization. Even if epilepsy were the cause of these great movements, which have caused civilization after civilization to arise from barbarism, it would merely form an argument for cultivating epilepsy. What the fuck is wrong with that dog? Probably quite a lot. Of course, great men will never conform with the standards of little men, and he whose mission it is to overturn the world can hardly escape the title of revolutionary. The fads of a period always furnish terms of abuse. The fad of Caiaphas was Judaism, and the Pharisees told him that Christ blasphemed. Pilate was a loyal Roman. To him they accused Christ of sedation. When the Pope had all power, it was necessary to prove an enemy a heretic. Advancing today towards a medical oligarchy, we try to prove that our opponents are insane, and in Puritanian country, to attack their morals. We should then avoid all rhetoric, and try to investigate with perfect freedom from the bias of phenomena which occurred to these great leaders of mankind. Not all dogs are smart. Blasphemed. Not all dogs can have the limps not clipping through their bodies. Oh, you mean limbs. That guy just ate like a really long hot dog. What was that? Or was that a piece of a dog? That was probably a piece of a dog. Limbs. Yeah, limbs. Or limps. What did I get to? There is no difficulty in our assuming that these men themselves did not understand clearly what happened to them. The only one who explains his system thoroughly is Buddha, and Buddha is the only one that is not dogmatic. We may also suppose that the others thought it inadvisable to explain too clearly to their followers. St. Paul evidently took this line. Our best document will therefore be the system of Buddha, but it is so complex that no immediate summary will serve. And in the case of the others, if we have not the accounts of the masters, we have those of their immediate followers. The methods advised by all these people have a startling resemblance to one another. They recommend virtue of various kinds, solitude, absence of excitement, moderation in diet, and finally a practice which some call prayer and some call meditation. The former four may turn out on examination to be merely conditions favourable to the last. Don't make fun of me. Don't you know it's my burb Dao? It is your burb Dao, yeah, I'm sorry. Who is that? Someone is dancing up a storm in the corner. Goodness. On investigating what is meant by these two things, we find that they are only one. For what is the state of either prayer or meditation? It is the restraining of the mind to a single act, state, or thought. If we sit down quietly and investigate the contents of our minds, we shall find that even at the best of times, the principal characteristics are wandering and distraction. Anyone who has had anything to do with children, and untrained minds generally knows that fixity of attention is never present, even when there is a large amount of intelligence and goodwill. If then we, with our well-trained minds, determine to control this wandering thought, we shall find that we are fairly well able to keep the thoughts running in a narrow channel, each thought linked to the last in a perfectly rational manner. But if we attempt to stop this current, we shall find that so far from succeeding, we shall merely break down the blanks of the channel. The mind will overflow, and instead of a chain of thought, we will have a chaos of confused images. This mental activity is so great and seems so natural that it is hard to understand how anyone first got the idea that it was a weakness and a nuisance. Perhaps it was because the more natural practice of devotion, people found their thoughts interfered. In any case, calm and self-control are to be preferred to restlessness. Darwin, in his study, presents a marked contrast with the monkey in a cage. I'm going blanky mode and sleepies. Good night, vomit chat, William Room. Good night, Kisa. Fucking up. Happy birthday, worm. Have good sleepings, Kisa. Who's that long boy? I don't recognize this long man. Who are you? This is Blinky. Wait, I thought Blinky was dead. Is this a new Blinky? It's very long. Anyway. I'm lost. I'm lost. Oh. Generally speaking, the larger and stronger and more highly developed an animal is, the less does it move about, and such movements as it does make are slow and purposeful. Compare the ceaseless activity of bacteria with the reasoned steadiness of the beaver, and except in the few animal communities which are organized, such as bees, the greatest intelligence is shown by those solitary habits. This is so true of man that psychologists have been obliged to treat of the mental state of crowds as if it were totally different in quality from any state possible to an individual. It is by freeing the mind from external influences, whether casual or emotional, that it obtains power to see somewhat of the truth of things. Let us, however, continue our practice. Let us determine to be masters of our minds. We shall soon then find what conditions are favorable. There will be no need to persuade ourselves at great length that all external influences are likely to be unfavorable. New faces, new scenes will disturb us. Even in the new habits of life which we undertake for this very purpose of controlling the mind, will at first tend to upset it. Still, we must give up our habit of eating too much and follow the neutral rule of only eating when we are hungry, listening to the interior voice which tells us that we have had enough. The same rule applies to sleep. We've determined to control our minds, and so our time for meditation must take precedence of other hours. These fucking wobble dogs, look at their calculated movements. This one in the middle is definitely walking with a purpose. Look at him go. Confidence. We must fix times for practice and make our feasts movable in order to test our progress, for we shall find that, as in all physiological matters, meditation cannot be gauged by the feelings. We shall have a notebook and pencil, and we shall also have a watch. We shall then endeavour to count how often during the first quarter of an hour the mind breaks away from the idea upon which it's determined to concentrate. We shall practice this twice daily, and as we go, experience will teach us which conditions are favourable and which are not. Before we've been doing this for very long, we are almost certain to get impatient, and will find that we have to practice many other things in order to assist in our work. New problems will constantly arise which must be faced and solved. For instance, we shall most assuredly find that we fidget. We shall discover that no position is comfortable, though we never noticed it before in all our lives. This difficulty has been solved by a practice called asana, which will be described later on. Memories of the events of the day will bother us. We must arrange our day so that it's absolutely uneventful. Our minds will recall us to our hopes and fears, our loves and hates, our ambitions, our envies, and many other emotions. All these must be cut off. We must have absolutely no interest in life but that of quieting our minds. Feel nothing. This is the object of the usual monastic vow of poverty, chastity, and obedience. If you have no property, you have no care, nothing to be anxious about. With chastity, no other person to be anxious about, and to distract your attention. While if you are vowed to obedience, the question of what you are to do no longer frets, you simply obey. Okay, this is dumb, because the amount of times where someone was like, oh, I'm trying to do my meditation, but this woman keeps showing up at my door and I just have to fuck her. I don't remember if that was Crowley or if that was someone else, but it's like... This happens so much. Went off to make a drinky, but thank you. That means you didn't hear me say it as Pubman. Worm! No! Hope it was chocolate milk. I wish I had that problem. What? It's like, this woman keeps showing up and I can't not fuck her. I may be trying to do my meditation and like my religious shit, but how can I not fuck her? Ooh, I got long. Long dog achievement. Let's go. Hi, tag. Okay, stuff is occurring. I'm enjoying this. Sounds terrible. Where am I? Do-do-do-do-do-do. There are a great many other obstacles which you will discover as you go on, and it is proposed to deal with these in turn. But let us pass by for the moment to the point where you are nearing success. In your early struggles, you may have found it difficult to conquer sleep, and you may have wandered so far from the object of your meditations without noticing it, that the meditation has really been broken. But much later on, when you feel that you are getting quite good, you will be shocked to find a complete oblivion of yourself and your surroundings. You will say, "Good heavens, I must have been to sleep," or else, "What on earth was I meditating upon?" Or even, "What was I doing? Where am I? Who am I?" Or a mere wordless bewilderment may daze you. This may alarm you, and your alarm will not be lessened when you come to full consciousness and reflect that you have actually forgotten who you are and what you're doing. Okay. This is only one of many adventures that may come to you, but it is one of the most typical. By this time, your hours of meditation will fill most of the day, and you will probably be constantly having presentiments that something is about to happen. You may also be terrified with the idea that your brain may be giving way, but you will have learned the real symptoms of mental fatigue, and you'll be careful to avoid them. They must be very carefully distinguished from idleness. At certain times, you will feel as if there was a contrast between the will and the mind. At other times, you may feel as if they were in harmony. But there is a third state, to be distinguished from the latter feeling. It is the certain sign of near success, the view halloo. What the fuck does that mean? A fox hunting term, the shout given by a hunter on seeing the fox break cover. Right. View halloo! This is when the mind runs naturally towards the object chosen, not as if in obedience to the will of the owner of the mind, but as if directed by nothing at all, or by something impersonal, as if it were falling by its own weight and not being pushed down. Almost always, the moment that one becomes conscious of this, it stops, and the dreary old struggle between the cowboy will and the buck jumper mind begins again. View halloo. Wait, hang on, let me spell it. It's, there you go. View halloo. Like every other physiological process, consciousness of it implies disorder or disease. In analyzing the nature of this work of controlling the mind, the student will appreciate without the trouble the fact that the two things are involved, the person seeing and the thing seen, the person knowing and the thing known, and he will come to regard this as the necessary condition of all consciousness. We are too accustomed to assume to be facts things about which we have no real sight even to guess. We assume, for example, that the unconscious is the torpid, and yet nothing is more certain than that bodily organs which are functioning well do so in silence. The best sleep is dreamless. Even in the case of games of skill, our very best strokes are followed by the thought, "I don't know how I did it," and we cannot repeat the strokes at will. The moment we begin to think consciously about a new stroke, we get nervous and are lost. In fact, there are three main classes of stroke: the bad stroke, which we associate and rightly with wandering attention, the good stroke, which we associate and rightly with fixed attention, and the perfect stroke, which we do not understand, but which is really caused by the habit of fixity of attention having become independent of the will, and thus enabled to act freely of its own accord. This is the same phenomenon referred to above as being a good sign. Finally, something happens whose nature may form the subject of further discussion later on. For the moment, let it suffice to say that this consciousness of the ego and the non-ego, the seer and the thing seen, the knower and the thing known, is blotted out. Sorry, I'm having to relearn how to read. And also I'm getting distracted because sometimes the words are going behind my mic and I have to like move myself to see them, and then I lose where I am. One of the dogs is like on its back, and I'm not gonna flip it. This is all in the hands of God now. These creatures must survive on their own or they won't survive at all. They have a pitiful existence. One sec, I'm having a sippy. That one can't even stood up for our 5 seconds. What? This one is just, like, trying to fix the television or something. He's fixing the TV? Yeah. That one is...
Hello?
That one's got
I
anxiety.
say hello.
Hi, Rion! Same person, I swear to God. I know, right? Pog piss? Is that right, Rion? Pog piss. Anyways. There is usually an intense light, an intense sound, and a feeling of such overwhelming bliss that the resources of language have been exhausted again and again in the attempts to describe it. It is an absolute knockout blow to the mind. RuneScape Trout. It is so vivid and tremendous that those who experience it are in the gravest danger of losing all sense of proportion. By its light, all other events of life are as darkness. Owing to this, people have utterly failed to analyze it or to estimate it. They are accurate enough in saying that compared with this, all human life is absolutely dross. But they go further and go wrong. They argue that since this is that which transcends the terrestrial, it must be celestial. One of the tendencies in their minds has been the hope of a heaven such as their parents and teachers have described, or such as they themselves have pictured, and, without the slightest grounds of saying so, they make the assumption this is that. Oh god, what is this word? In the Bhagavad Gita, I don't know, I'm sorry. A version of this class is naturally attributed to the apparition of Vishnu, who was the local god of the period. Hey Kai! Anna Kingsford, who has dabbled in Hebrew mysticism and was a feminist, got an almost identical vision, but called the divine figure which she saw alternately Adonai and Maria. I don't know why her being a feminist was relevant there, but she's a feminist. Now this woman, though handicapped by a brain that was a massive putrid pulp, and a complete lack of social status, education and moral character, did more in the religious world than any other person had done for generations. How's the vomit doing today? I'm doing pretty good, especially now we're getting into the fucking misogyny. This is so stupid. They can't just compliment her. They can't just be like, wow, she did so much for this world of religion. They despite being handicapped by a brain that was a massive putrid pulp and a complete lack of social status, education and moral character. Oh my goodness, right. She and she alone made the theosophy possible, and without theosophy, the worldwide interest in similar matters would never have been aroused. The interest is to the law of Thelema what the preaching of John the Baptist was to Christianity. We're now in a position to say what happened to Muhammad. Somehow or another, his phenomenon happened in his mind. More ignorant than Anna Kingsford though, fortunately more moral, he connected it with the story of an Annunciation? Which he had ignorance, and his total misconception of the truth. Wait, no, that's wrong. Which he had undoubtedly heard in his boyhood, and said Gabriel appeared to me, but in spite of his ignorance, his total misconception of the truth, the power of the vision was such that he was enabled to persist through the usual persecution and founded a religion which even today one man in every 8 belongs. The history of Christianity shows precisely the same remarkable fact. Jesus Christ was brought up on the fables of the Old Testament and was so compelled to ascribe his experiences to Jehovah, although his gentle spirit could have had nothing in common with the monster who was always commanding the rape of virgins and the murder of little children, and whose rites were then and still are celebrated by human sacrifice. Woohoo! I could hear you through an ad? That's really strange. Who the fuck is this? This dog is broken! This dog is broken! Oh no! Similarly, the visions of Joan of Arc were entirely Christian, but she, like all the others we have mentioned, found somewhere the force to do great things. Of course, it may be said that there is a fallacy in the argument. It may be true that all these great people saw God, but it does not follow that everyone who sees God will do great things. This is true enough. In fact, the majority of people who claim to have seen God, and who no doubt did see God just as much as those whom we have quoted, did nothing else. But perhaps their silence is not a sign of their weakness, but of their strength. Perhaps these great men are the failures of humanity. Perhaps it would be better to say nothing. Perhaps only an unbalanced mind would wish to alter anything or believe in the possibility of altering anything. But there are those who think that existence, even in heaven, intolerable, so long as there is one single being who does not share that joy. And there are some who may wish to travel back from the very threshold of the bridal chamber to assist belated guests. Hi, Relax. What the dog going? I don't know. Do any of these dogs have normal legs? No. No. Such at least was the attitude which Gautama Buddha adopted, nor shall he be alone. Again, it may be pointed out that the contemplative life is generally opposed to the active life, and it must require an extremely careful balance to prevent one absorbing the other. As it will be seen later, the vision of God, or union with God, or samadhi, whatever we may agree to call it, whatever you want to call it, has many kinds and many degrees, although there is an impassable abyss between the least of them and the greatest of all the phenomena of normal consciousness. To sum up, we assert secret source of energy which... Secret source. I'm so fucked up. Which explains the phenomena of genius. We do not believe in any supernatural explanations, but insist that this source may be reached by the following out of definite rules, the degree of success depending on the capacity of the seeker, and not upon the favor of any divine being. We assert that the critical phenomenon which determines success is an occurrence in the brain characterized essentially by the uniting of subject and object. We propose to discuss this phenomenon, analyze its nature, determine accurately the physical, mental, and moral conditions which are favorable to it, to ascertain its cause, and thus to produce it in ourselves so that we may adequately study its effects. What? I'm lost. They need to evolve better legs. That would be helpful, but I don't think it's possible. I think all of these dogs are quite fucked. And there's nothing that can be done to save them. Hello! Can you, give me a way to, nickname you? Do I just call you, like, Yee? Or... I don't know what I'm supposed to call you. Doug? Doug or Dougie? Okay, let me write that down so I just give you a nickname so I don't fucking forget. Just like okay. There we go. Did that work? I feel like I fucked that up. Did I fuck that up? Oh no, there we go. We're good. Eee! Can't believe you don't want to be called Eee! That fucking green one. That fucking green dog. Okay, I'm glad we don't have to look at that anymore. Okay, Chapter 1. Asana. The problem before us may be stated thus simply: a man who wishes to control his mind, to be able to think one chosen thought for as long as he will without interruption. As previously remarked, the first difficulty arises from the body, which keeps asserting its presence by causing its victim to itch, and in other ways be distracted. He wants to stretch, scratch, sneeze. This nuisance is so persistent that the Hindus, in their scientific way, devised a special practice for quieting it. The word asana means posture, but, as with all words which have caused debate, its exact meaning has altered, and it is used in several distinct senses by various authors. The greatest authority on yoga is Patanjali, maybe? He says asana is that which is firm and pleasant. This may be taken as meaning the result of success in the practice. Again, Sankhya says posture is that which is steady and easy. And again, any posture which is steady and easy is an asana. There is no other rule. Any posture will do. Bro, there's not a single okay dog. How have you fucked it this much? This is nature. This is nature taking course. This is, I have no part in this. This is not me. Natural selection's happening. The dogs are inbred? Look, maybe so. But this is all your fault. Prove it. In a sense, this is true, because any posture becomes uncomfortable sooner or later. The steadiness and easiness mark a definite attainment, as will be explained later on. Hindu books such as the Shiva Samhita give countless postures, many, perhaps most of them, impossible for the average adult European. Others insist that the head, neck, and spine should be kept vertical and straight, for reasons connected with the subject of prana, which will be dealt with in its proper place. The positions illustrated in the Liber E, Equinox 1, and Equinox 1 and 7. What? Nature finds a way to make a horrific dog? Prove it with this sick fish. That's not a fish. Whoa, sick fish. The extreme of asana is practiced by those yogis who remain in one position without moving, except in the case of absolute necessity during their whole lives. One should not criticize such persons without thorough knowledge of the subject. Such knowledge has not yet been published. However, one may safely assert that since the great men previously mentioned did not do this, it will not be necessary for their followers. Let us then choose a suitable position and consider what happens. There is a sort of happy medium between rigidity and limpness. The muscles are not to be strained, and yet they are not to be allowed to altogether slack. It is difficult to find a good descriptive word. Braced is perhaps the best. A sense of physical alertness is desirable. Think of the tiger about to spring, or of the oarsman waiting for the gun. After a little there will be a cramp and fatigue. The student must now set his teeth and go through with it. The minor sensations of itching, etc., will be found to pass away if they are resolutely neglected, but the cramp and fatigue may be expected to increase until the end of the practice. One may begin with half an hour or an hour. The student must not mind if the process of quitting the asana involves several minutes of the acutest agony. Olive has just hatched. Hi, Olive. You are the size of an olive. It will require a good deal of determination to persist day after day, for in most cases it will be found that the discomfort and pain, instead of diminishing, tend to increase. On the other hand, if the student pay no attention, fail to watch the body, an opposite phenomenon may occur. He shifts to ease himself without knowing that he has done so. To avoid this, choose a position which naturally is rather cramped and awkward, and in which slight changes are not sufficient to bring ease. Otherwise, for the first few days, the student may even imagine that he has conquered the position. In fact, in all these practices, their apparent simplicity is such that the beginner is likely to wonder what all the fuss is about, perhaps to think that he is spiritually gifted. Similarly, a man who has never touched a golf club will take his umbrella and carelessly hole a putt, which would frighten the best putter alive. Yay, golf analogies. No fish, only bottle. In a few days, however, in all cases, the discomforts will begin. As you go on, they will begin earlier in the course of the hour's exercise. The disinclination to practice at all may become almost unconquerable. One must warn the student against imagining that some other position would be easier to master than the one he has selected. Once you begin to change about, you are lost. Perhaps the reward is not so far distant. It will happen one day that the pain is suddenly forgotten. The fact of the presence of the body is forgotten, and one will realize that during the whole of one's previous life the body was always on the borderland of consciousness, and that consciousness, a consciousness of pain, and at this moment one will further realize with an indescribable feeling of relief that not only is this position which has been so painful the very ideal of physical comfort, but that all other conceivable positions of the body are uncomfortable. This feeling represents success. There will be no further difficulty in the practice. One will get into one's asana with almost the same feeling as that which a tired man gets into a hot bath, and while he is in that position, the body may be trusted to send him no message that might disturb his mind. Other results of this practice are described by Hindu authors, but they do not concern us at present. Our first obstacle has been removed, and we can continue with the others. Why is everyone a-wooing? Is someone dying? I'm not sure what's happening. Hang on. I need to stretch my neck. Awoo. Oh, there is someone dead over there. Olive's eating them, whoever it was. Someone else is being shat out by a cocoon. Who's this? Blinky. How many Blinkies have we had? I swear that's like the third one. Chapter 2, Pranayama and its parallel in speech, Mantra Yoga. The connection between breath and mind will be fully discussed in the Speaking of Magic Sword. Magic Sword? Hang on. In Part 2, Chapter 8. Okay, thank you. But it may be useful to premise a few details of a practical character. You may consult various Hindu manuals and the writing of Zhuangzi for various notable theories as to method and result. But in this skeptical system, one had better content oneself with statements which are not worth the trouble of doubting. The ultimate idea of meditation is being still to the mind. Vomit. British. Magic sword. Magic sword. Magic sword. Is there a woman in a lake with a magic sword? Can I have it? Can I become king? Thank you. The ultimate idea of meditation being to still the mind, it may be considered a useful preliminary to still consciousness of all the functions of the body. Alright. Excalibur? Bro. Excalibur. This has been dealt with in the chapter on asana. One may, however, mention that some yogis carry it to the point of trying to stop the beating of the heart. Whether this be desirable or no, it would be useless to the beginner, so he will endeavor to make the breathing very slow and very regular. The rules of this practice were given in Liber CCVI. I don't know what number that is. Egg? Egg. The best way to time breathing... wait, what? The best way to time the breathing, once some little skill has been acquired, with a watch to bear witness, is by the use of a mantra. The mantra acts on the thoughts very much as pranayama does upon the breath. The thought is bound down to a recurring cycle. Any intruding thoughts are thrown off by the mantra, just as pieces of putty would be from a flywheel, and the swifter the wheel, the more difficult it would be for anything to stick. Tiny creature. This is the proper way to practice a mantra. Utter it as loudly and slowly as possible 10 times, then not quite so loudly and very little faster 10 times more. Continue this process until there is nothing but a rapid movement of the lips. This movement should be continued with increased velocity and diminishing intensity until the mental muttering completely absorbs the physical. The student is by this time absolutely still, with the mantra racing in the brain. He should, however, continue to speed it up until he reaches his limit, at which he should continue for as long as possible, and then cease the practice by reversing the process above as described. What? I thought you were trying to slow your breathing, and yet it's like speak faster, go faster. Any sentence may be used as a mantra, as possibly the Hindus are correct in thinking that there is a particular sentence best suited to any particular man. Some men might find the liquid mantras of the Quran slide too easily, so that it would be possible to continue another train of thought without disturbing the mantra. One is supposed while saying the mantra to meditate upon its meaning. This suggests that the student might construct for himself a mantra which should represent the universe in sound, as the pantacle should do in form. Occasionally, a mantra may be given, i.e. heard in some unexplained manner during a meditation. One man, for example, used the words, "and strive to see in everything the will of God." To another, while engaged in killing thoughts, came the words, "and push it down," apparently referring to the action of the inhibitory centers which he was using. By keeping on with this, he got his result. I'm really lost. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Crowley. My brain's too small. The ideal mantra should be rhythmical. One might even say musical, but there should be sufficient emphasis on some syllable to assist the faculty of attention. The best mantras are of medium length, so far as the beginner is concerned. If the mantra is too long, one is apt to forget it, unless one practices very hard for a great length of time. On the other hand, mantras of a single syllable, such as Aum, are rather jerky and rhythmical idea is lost. Here are a few useful mantras. Aum. You just said not to use that, but whatever. Aum Tat Sat Aum. This mantra is purely spondaic. What the hell does spondaic mean? Said as 2 long syllables, Crowley using technical terms borrowed from poetry. Oh, I see. Om jerking? Om mani padme hum. 2 torches, cheese between 2 kesuras. 2 long stressed syllables between 2 pauses. I hate this. I don't like these. Om Shivaya Vashi. 3 trochees. Note that Shi means rest. The absolute or male aspect of the deity Va is energy, the manifested or female side of the deity. This mantra therefore exposes the whole course of the universe from 0 through to the finite back to 0. Bro, you are just making shit up. Allah, the syllables of this are accented equally with certain pause between them, and are usually combined by fakirs with a rhythmical motion of the body to and fro. Allahu Alazi, La ilaha illa huwa. Here are some longer ones. The famous Gayatri, Aum Tat Savitur Varenyam Bagro Devasya Dimahi Dio Yo Na Pratodayat. Fucking hell. I'm too English for this. I'm actually so confused by this stream, but on the other hand, I'm always confused, so nothing's new there. Is it merely what I'm saying, or is it the combination of the audio and visuals together? Yap, 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 yap. Scan this as trochaic tetrameters. Kol hua Allahu achad, Allahu asmad, lam yalid, walam yulad, walam yakun, lahu kufwan achad. Tantric? Wait, where's the tantra? Oh, tetrameters. No, not tantric. Tantric piss with me, worm. Don't cross the tantric streams. It's the combination. Both the audio and visuals are what's in my brain when I forget my meds. I'm like reading some like weird religious text shit while there's like fucked up dogs on the screen and like meditation music in the background. You can cross the tantric stream with me, Brown, when I won't tell anyone. Well, I've been told. How dare you? This mantra is the holiest of all that are or can be. It is from the stale of revealing. Akadua taf abir bi shefu dudu na afannetru. What? Let's make a 3-day stream cross-vommy. Let's go. Wait, what? Did I forget my meds today? Is that what's happening here? Why did I write day? I don't know. I don't know anything. My brain's just being scrambled by this fucking book. Such are enough for selection. I don't like any of these. Can I make my own mantra? There are many other mantras. Sri Sabapati Swami gives a particular one for each of the chakras. But let the student select one mantra and master it thoroughly. You have not even begun to master a mantra until it continues unbroken through sleep. This is much easier than it sounds. Alright? Some schools advocate practicing a mantra with the aid of instrumental music and dancing. Certainly very remarkable effects are obtained in the way of magic powers. Whether great spiritual results are equally common is a doubtful point. Persons wishing to study them may remember that the Sahara Desert is within 3 days of London, and no doubt the Sidi Aisawa would be glad to accept pupils. This discussion of the parallel science of mantra yoga has led us far indeed from the subject of pranayama. Alright. Wait, what is this? What are these notes? What are these notes referring to? Oh, are these translations for the mantras? Oh. Oh, that existent. Oh, an aspiration after reality truth. Oh, the jewel in the lotus. Amen. Refers to Buddha and Harpocrates, but also the symbolism of the rosy cross. Gives the cycle of creation, peace manifesting as power, power dissolving in peace. God, it adds to 66, the sum of the first 11 numbers. What? He is God, and there is no other God than He. Oh, let us strictly meditate on the adorable light of that divine Savatri, the interior sun. May she enlighten our minds. He is God alone, God the eternal. He begets not and is not begotten, nor is there like unto him anyone. Unity uttermost showed, I adore the might of thy breath, supreme and terrible God, who makest the gods and death. To tremble before thee, I adore thee. Alright. Let's make a 3-stream cross vommy, let's go. I'm not crossing streams with you guys. Don't know if the stream is making me more or less of an atheist. I mean, if anything, it should at the very least make you more anti-Christian, because Crowley was very anti-Christian. Pranayama is notably useful in quieting the emotions and appetites, and whether by reason of the mechanical pressure which it asserts, or by the thorough combustion which it assures in the lungs, it seems to be admirable from the standpoint of health. Digestive troubles in particular are very easy to remove in this way. It purifies both the body and the lower functions of the mind, and should be practiced certainly never less than 1 hour daily by the serious student. 4 hours is a better period, a golden mean. 16 hours is too much for most people. Bro, who has time for this? Who has time for this? You should meditate 4 hours a day. No. And then there's an image of the 7 chakras. So that's nice. Chapter 3, Yama and Niyama. Yama literally means control. It is dealt with in detail in Part 2, the Wand. The Hindus have placed these 2 attainments in the forefront of their program. They are the moral qualities and good works, which are supposed to predispose to mental calm. Yama consists of non-killing, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence, and non-receiving of any gift. In the Buddhist system, sila, virtue, is similarly enjoined. The qualities are, for the layman, these 5. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not drink no intoxicating drink. For the monk, many others are added. The commandments of Moses are familiar to all. They are rather similar, and so are those given by Christ in the Sermon on the Mount. Some of these are only the virtues of a slave, invented by his master to keep him in order. The real point of the Hindu Yama is that breaking any of these would tend to excite the mind. Subsequent theologians have tried to improve upon the teachings of the masters, have given a sort of mystical importance to these virtues. They have insisted upon them for their own sake, and turned them into Puritanism and formalism. Thus non-killing, which originally meant do not excite yourself by stalking tigers, has been interpreted to mean that it is a crime to drink water that has not been strained, lest you should kill an animalcula? Animalcula? But this constant worry, this fear of killing anything by mischance, is on the whole worse than hand-to-hand conflict with a grizzly bear. If the barking of a dog disturbs your meditation, it is simplest to shoot the dog and think no more about it. Don't shoot the dog. Don't shoot the dog. A similar difficulty with wives has caused some masters to recommend celibacy. In all these questions, common sense must be the guide. No fixed rule can be laid down. The non-receiving of gifts, for instance, is rather important for a Hindu, who would be thoroughly upset for weeks if anyone gave him a coconut, but the average European takes things as they come by the time that he has been putting into long trousers. What? I love that it's just sort of implied that wives are annoying, so you should be celibate just because you you don't want a woman bothering you during your meditation. Also celibacy? No, I'm good. I know, right? Hate me, wife. Love me, 16-hour meditation sesh. The only difficult question is that of continence, which is complicated by many considerations, such as that of energy, but everybody's mind is hopelessly muddled on this subject, which some people confuse with erterology and others with sociology. There will be no clear thinking on this matter until it's understood as being solely a branch of athletics. I ate her. We may then dismiss yama and niyama with this advice. Let the student decide for himself what form of life, what moral code, will least tend to excite his mind, but once he has formulated it, let him stick to it, avoiding opportunism, and let him be very careful to take no credit for what he does or refrains from doing. It is purely practical code of no value in itself. The cleanliness which assists the surgeon in his work would prevent the engineer from doing his at all. Ethical questions are adequately dealt with in Thane Tao, in Nox on Par, and should be there studied. See also Liber XXX of the AA. Also in Liber CCXX, Book of the Law, it is said, "Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law." Remember that for the purpose of this treatise, the whole subject of yama and niyama is to live so that no emotional passion disturbs the mind. XXX, whoa. Hey, hey. So I'm taking some inspiration from this, but I'm not taking inspiration in the don't excite your mind shit. I love stimulus. And so did Crowley. Like, what the fuck? Do all these meditations, live a life of no emotion, and yet I'm gonna do a shit ton of drugs and, like, fuck a bunch of women. Okay, dude. Chapter 4. Pratyahara. Cult? Yeah, exactly. Pratyahara is the first process in the mental part of our task. The previous practices, asana, pranayama, yama, and niyama, are all acts of the body, while mantra is connected with speech. Pratyahara is purely mental. And what is Pratyahara? This word is used by different authors in different senses. The same word is employed to designate both practice and the result. It means, for our present purpose, a process rather strategical than practical. It is an introspection, a sort of general examination of the contents of the mind, which we wish to control. Asana having been mastered, all immediate exciting causes been removed, and we are free to think what we are thinking about. Alright. We're free to think what we're thinking about, guys. We're ready to think about what we're thinking about. A very similar experience to that of asana is in store for us. At first we shall likely flatter ourselves that our minds are pretty calm, and this is a defect of observation, just as the European standing for the first time on the edge of the desert will see nothing there, while his Arab can tell him the family history of each of the 50 persons in view, because he has learnt how to look. So with the practice the thoughts will become more numerous and more insistent. As soon as the body was accurately observed, it was found to be terribly restless and painful. Now that we observe the mind, it is seen to be more restless and painful still. See the diagram opposite, overleaf. There's a diagram? It's just a graph. It's not worth looking at. A similar curve might be plotted for the real and apparent painfulness of asana. Conscious of this fact, we begin to try to control it. Not quite so many thoughts, please. Don't think quite so fast, please. No more of that kind of thought, please. It is only then that we discover that what we thought was a school of playful porpoises is really the convulsions of the sea serpent, the attempt to repress the effect of exciting. No more thoughts like that, please. Stop having me think thoughts, please. When the unsuspecting pupil first approaches his wily guru and demands magical powers, that wise one replies that he will confer them, points out with much caution and secrecy some particular spot on the pupil's body which has never previously attracted his attention, and says, in order to obtain this magical power which you seek, all that is necessary to wash 7 times the Ganges during 7 days, being practically careful to avoid thinking of that one spot. Of course, the unhappy youth spends a disgusted week thinking of little else. It is positively amazing what persistence and thought, even whole train of thoughts, returns again and again to the charge. It becomes a positive nightmare. It is intensely annoying, too, to find out one does not become conscious that one has gotten to the forbidden subject until one has gotten right through with it. No more, please. I really need a stand for this book. It's hurting my hand to hold it. And then here's the graph. The line shows the control of the mind improving slowly at first, afterwards more quickly. It starts from or at near 0 and should reach absolute control at D. EF shows the power of observation, the contents of the mind improving quickly at first, afterwards more slowly, up to the perfection at F. It starts well above 0 in the case of most educated men. The height of the perpendiculars HI indicates the dissatisfaction of the student with his powers of control leaving at first, ultimately diminishing to 0. What? Isn't that what legs are for? What, for holding the book? No? How are you expecting me to sit? To hold the book with my legs? And not look straight down. I don't want to look... No, I don't want to have my chin to my chest. No. However, one continues day after day, investigating thoughts and trying to check them, and sooner or later one proceeds to the next stage. Dharana, the attempt to restrain the mind to a single object. Let me hold it for you, please. I would appreciate that. Before we go on to this, however, we must consider what is meant by success in Pratyahara. This is a very extensive subject, and different authors take widely divergent views. One writer means an analysis so accurate that every thought is resolved to a number of elements. See the Psychology of Hashish, Section 5 in Equinox 1 and 2. Others take the view that success in the practice is something like the experience which Sir Humphrey Davy has had a result of taking nitrous oxide, in which he exclaimed, "The universe is composed exclusively of ideas." Others say that it gives Hamlet's feeling there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so, interpreted as literally as was done by Mrs. Eddy. What? However, the main point is to acquire some of the inhibitory powers over thoughts. Fortunately, there is an unfailing method of acquiring this power. It is given in Liber 3 of sections 1 and 2 are practiced, if necessary with the assistance of another person to aid your vigilance. You will soon be able to master the final section. In some people, this inhibitory power may flower suddenly in very much the same way as occurred with asana. Quite without any relaxation of vigilance, the mind will suddenly be stilled. There will be a marvelous feeling of peace and rest, quite different from the lethargic feeling which is produced by overeating. It is very difficult to say whether so definite a result would come to all, or even to most people. The matter is one of no very great importance. If you have acquired the power of checking the rise of thought, you may proceed to the next stage. I'm proceeding anyway. In Bibiort. Chapter 5, Dharana. Now that we've learned to observe the mind so that we know how it works to some extent, and have begun to understand the elements of control, we may try the result of gathering together all the powers of the mind and attempting to focus them on a single point. That dog is so fucked. It's like really flat. It's got the thinnest legs and the biggest head. Is that the thought I can focus on, please, Crowley? Can I focus on one of these dogs? Wait, no, I'm not allowed to excite my mind. These dogs are too exciting. Okay. We know that it is fairly easy for the ordinary educated mind to think without much distraction on a subject in which it is much interested. We have the popular phrase, revolving a thing in the mind, and as long as the subject is sufficiently complex, as long as thoughts pass freely, there is no great difficulty. So long as a gyroscope is in motion, it remains motionless relatively to its support, and even resists attempts to distract it. When it stops, it falls from that position. If the Earth ceased to spin around the sun, it would at once fall into the sun. The moment then that the student takes a simple subject, or rather a simple object, and imagines it or visualizes it, he will find that it is not so much his creature as he supposed. What? His creature? Other thoughts will invade the mind, so that the object altogether forgotten, perhaps for whole minutes at a time, and other times the object itself will begin to play all sorts of tricks. Suppose you have chosen a white cross. It will move its bar up and down, elongate the bar, turn the bar oblique, get its arms unequal, turn upside down, grow branches, get a crack around it, or a figure upon it, change its shape altogether like an amoeba, change its size and distance as a whole, change the degree of its illumination, and at the same time change its color. It will get splotchy and blotchy, grow patterns, rise, fall, twist and turn, clouds will pass over its face. There is no conceivable change of which it is incapable, not to mention its total disappearance and replacement by something altogether different. Anyone to whom this experience does not occur need not imagine that he is meditating. It shows merely that he is incapable of concentrating his mind on the very smallest degree. Perhaps the student may go for several days before discovering that he is not meditating. When he does, the obstinacy of the object will infuriate him, and it's only now that his real troubles will begin. Only now that will comes really into play, and now that his manhood is tested. What? If not for the will development which he got in the conquest of Asana, he would probably give up. As it is, the mere agony which he underwent is the veriest trifle compared with the horrible tedium of Dhrana. For the first week it may seem rather amusing, and you may even imagine you're progressing, but as the practice teaches you what you're doing, you will apparently get worse and worse. Please understand that in doing this practice you're supposed to be seated in asana and to have notebook and pencil by your side and a watch in front you. You are not to practice at first for more than 10 minutes at a time so as to avoid risk of over-tiring the brain. In fact, you will probably find that the whole of your willpower is not equal to keeping a subject at all for so long as 3 minutes, or even apparently concentrating on it for so long as 3 seconds, or 3/5 of 1 second. By keeping to it at all, is meant the mere attempt to keep to it. What? By keeping to it at all, is meant the mere attempt to keep to it. The mind becomes so fatigued, and the object so incredibly loathsome, that it is useless to continue for the time being. In Frater P's record, we find that after daily practice for 6 months, meditation of 4 minutes and less still being recorded. The student is supposed to count the number of times that his thought wanders. This he can do on his fingers or on a string of beads. If these breaks seem to become more frequent instead of less frequent, the student must not be discouraged. This is partially caused by his increased accuracy of observation. In exactly the same way, the introduction of vaccination resulted in an apparent increase in the number of cases of smallpox, the reason being that people began to tell the truth about the disease instead of faking. Minded fatigued after listening to this book. Look at that guy's big head, though. Vaccination mention? I don't think it was a negative mention. Soon, however, the control will improve faster than the observation. When this occurs, the improvement will become apparent in the record. Any variation will probably be due to accidental circumstances. For example, one night you may be very tired when you start, another night you may have a headache or indigestion. You will do well to avoid practicing at such times. We will suppose then that you have reached the stage where your average practice on one subject is about half an hour, and the average number of breaks between 10 and 20. One would suppose that this implied that during the periods between the breaks, one was really concentrated, but this is not the case. The mind is flickering, although imperceptibly. However, there may be sufficient real steadiness, even at this early stage, to cause some very striking phenomena, of which the most marked one is which will possibly make you think that you have gone to sleep, or it may seem quite inexplicable, and in any case will disgust you with yourself. What? You will completely forget who you are, what you are, and what you are doing. A similar phenomenon sometimes happens when one is half awake in the morning, and one cannot think what town one is living in. The similarity of these two things is rather significant. It suggests that what is really happening is that you're waking up from the sleep which men call waking, the sleep whose dreams are life. Alright. Okay. There is another way to test one's progress in this practice, and that is by the character of the breaks. Breaks are classed as follows. Firstly, physical sensations. These should have been overcome by asana. Secondly, breaks that seem to be dictated by events immediately preceding the meditation. Their activity becomes tremendous. Only by this practice does one understand how much is really observed by the sense without the mind becoming conscious of it. Thirdly, there is a class of breaks partaking in the nature of reverie or daydreams. These are very insidious, and one may go on for a long time without realizing one has wandered at all. Fourthly, we get a high class of break, which is a sort of aberration of the control itself. You think, how well I'm doing it! Or perhaps that it would be rather good idea if you were on a desert island, or if you were in a soundproof house, or if you were sitting by a waterfall, but these are only trifling variations from the vigilance itself. The fifth class of break seems to have no discoverable source on the mind. Such may even take the form of actual hallucination, usually auditorily. Of course, such hallucinations are infrequent and are recognized for what they are, otherwise the student had better see his doctor. The usual kind consists of odd sentences or fragments of sentences, which are heard quite distinctly in a recognizable human voice, not the student's own voice or that of anyone he knows. A similar phenomenon is observed by wireless operators who call such messages atmospherics. There is a further kind of break, which is the desired result itself, must be dealt with later in detail. Ugh. Now there is a real sequence in these classes of breaks. As control improves, the percentage of primaries and secondaries will diminish, even though the total number of breaks in a meditation remains stationary. By the time that you are meditating 2 or 3 hours a day, and filling up most of the rest of the day with other practices designed to assist, when nearly every time something or other happens, and there is constantly a feeling of being on the brink of something pretty big, one may expect to proceed on to the next state, dhyana. Whoa, that dog's got a really long nose. Oh. He's hidden behind the building, but he had a long nose. Chapter 6, dhyana. This word has two quite distinct and mutually exclusive meanings. The first refers to the result itself. Dhyana is the same word as the Pali jhana. The Buddha counted 8 jhanas, which are evidently different degrees and kinds of trance. The Hindu also speaks of dhyana as a lesser form of samadhi. Others, however, treat it as if it were merely an intensification of dharana. Patanjali says dharana is holding the mind on some particular object. An unbroken flow of knowledge in that subject is dhyana. When that giving up on all forms reflects only on the meaning, it is samadhi. He combines these three into samayama. We shall treat dhyana as a result rather than as a method. Up to this point, ancient authorities have been fairly reliable guides, except with regard to their crabbed ethics, but when they get on the subject of results of meditation, they completely lose their heads. They exhaust the possibilities of poetry to declare what is demonstrably untrue. For example, we find that Shiva Sanita, that he who daily contemplates on this lotus of the heart is eagerly desired by the daughters of gods, has clairaudience and clairvoyance, and can walk in the air. Another person can make gold, discover medicine for a disease, and see hidden treasures. All this is filth. What is the curse upon religion, that its tenets must always be associated with every kind of extravagance and falsehood? There is one exception, it is the AA, those whose members are extremely careful to make no statement at all that cannot be verified in the usual manner, or where this is not easy, at least avoid anything like a dogmatic statement. In their second book of practical instruction, Liber O, occur these words: by doing certain things, certain results will follow. Students are most earnestly warned against attributing objective reality or philosophical validity to any of them. Those golden words! In discussing dhyana, then, let it be clearly understood that something unexpected is about to be described. We shall consider its nature and estimate its value in a perfectly unbiased way, without allowing ourselves the usual rhapsodies or deducing any theory of the universe. Crab ethics. One extra fact may destroy some existing theory that is common enough, but no single fact is sufficient to construct one. It will have been understood that dhyana, and samadhi form a continuous process, and exactly when the climax comes does not matter. It is of this climax that we must speak, for this is a matter of experience, and a very striking one. In the course of our concentration, we noticed that the contents of the mind at any moment consisted of two things and no more, the object, variable, and the subject, invariable, or apparently so. By success in dharana, the object has been made as invariable as the subject. Now the result of this is that two become one. This phenomenon usually comes as a tremendous shock. It is indescribable even by the masters of language, and is therefore not surprising that the semi-educated stutterers wallow in oceans of gush. All the poetic faculties and all the emotional faculties are thrown in sort of ecstasy by an occurrence which overthrows the mind, and makes the rest of life seem absolutely worthless in comparison. Good literature is principally a matter of clear observation and good judgment, expressed in the simplest way. For this reason, none of the great events in history, such as earthquakes and battles, have been well described by eyewitnesses unless those eyewitnesses were out of danger. But even then, even when one has become accustomed to dhyana by constant repetition, no words seem adequate. One of the simplest forms of dhyana may be called the sun. The sun is seen, as it were, by itself, not by an observer, and although the physical eye cannot behold the sun, one is compelled to make the statement that this sun is far more brilliant than the sun of nature. The whole thing takes place on a higher level. Also, the conditions of thought, time, and space are abolished. It is impossible to explain what this really means. Only experience can furnish you with apprehension. This too has its analogies in ordinary life. The concepts of higher mathematics cannot be grasped by the beginner, cannot be explained to the layman. Have a nice rest of your day. Okay, Chris, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the luckies. A further development is the appearance of the form, which has been universally described as human, although the persons describing it proceed to add a great number of details which are not human at all. This particular appearance is assumed to be God. But whatever it may be, the result of the mind of the student is tremendous. All his thoughts are pushed to their greatest development. He sincerely believes that they have the divine sanction, perhaps even supposes that they can emanate from this God. He goes back into the world armed with this intense conviction and authority. He proclaims his ideas without the restraint which is imposed upon most persons by doubt, modesty, and diffidence, while further there is, one may suppose, a real clarification. In any case, the mass of mankind is always ready to be swayed by anything thus authoritative and distinct. History is full of stories of officers who have walked unarmed to a mutinous regiment and disarmed them by the mere force of confidence. The power of the orator over the mob is well known. It is probably for this reason that the prophet has been able to constrain mankind to obey this law. It never occurs to him that anyone can do otherwise. In practical life, one can walk past any guardian, such as a sentry or ticket collector, if one can really act that the man is somehow persuaded that you have the right to pass unchallenged. This is so true, though. Finally getting some head. This power, by the way, is what has been described by magicians as the power of invisibility. Confidence makes you invisible? I mean, I guess in a way. Somebody or other has an excellent story of 4 quite reliable men who were on the lookout for a murderer, and had instructions to let no one pass, and who all swore subsequently in presence of the dead body that no one had passed. None of them had seen the postman. Feel my confidence be disarmed. The thieves who stole the Gioconda, better known as Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, okay, from the Louvre were probably disguised as workmen and stole the picture under the very eye of the Guardian. Very likely got him to help them. It is only necessary to believe that the thing must be to. It is only necessary to believe that a thing must be to bring it about. This belief must not be an emotional or intellectual one. It resides in a deeper portion of the mind, yet a portion not so deep, but that most men, probably all successful men, will understand these words, having experience of their own with which they can compare it. The most important factor in dhyana is, however, the annihilation of the ego. Our conception of the universe must be completely overturned if we are to admit this is valid, and it is time that we considered what is really happening. It will be conceded that we were given a very rational explanation of the greatness of great men. They had an experience so overwhelming, so out of proportion to the rest of things, that they were freed from all the petty hindrances which prevent normal man from carrying out his projects. Worrying about clothes, food, money, what people may think, how and why, and above all the fear of consequences, clog nearly everyone. Nothing is easier, theoretically, than for an anarchist to kill a king. He has only to buy a rifle and make himself a first-class shot and shoot the king from a quarter of a mile away, and yet, although there are plenty of anarchists, outrages are very few. Avas, thank you for the follow, hello. Gonna have to go to bed or hang out with my BF in VR, so I'll be leaving. No worries, Tag, no worries. Thank you for stopping by, have a great rest of your day. At the same time, the police would probably be the first to admit that if any man were really tired of life, in his deepest being, a state of very different from that in which a man goes about saying he is tired of life, he could manage somehow or other to kill someone first. Now the man who has experienced any of the more intense forms of dhyana is thus liberated, the universe is thus destroyed for him, and he is for it. His will can therefore go on his way unhampered. One may imagine that in the case of Muhammad, he had cherished for years tremendous ambition, and never done anything because those qualities which were subsequently manifested as statesmanship warned him that he was impotent. His vision in the cave gave him that confidence which was required. The faith moves mountains. There are a lot of solid-seeming things in this world which a child could push over, but not one that has the courage to push. Let us accept provisionally this explanation of greatness and pass it by. Ambition has led us to this point, but we are now interested in the work for its own sake. A most astounding phenomenon has happened to us. We've had experience which makes love, fame, rank, ambition, wealth look like 30 cents, and we begin to wonder passionately what is truth. The universe has tumbled about our ears like a house of cards, and we have tumbled too, yet this ruin is like the opening of the gates of heaven. Here is a tremendous problem, and there is something within us which ravens for its solution. Let us see what explanation we can find. The first suggestion which would enter a well-balanced mind, versed in the study of nature, is that we have experienced a mental catastrophe, just as a blow on the head will make a man see stars. So one might suppose that the terrific mental strain of dhyana has somehow overexcited the brain and caused a spasm, or possibly even the breaking of a small vessel. There seems no reason to reject this explanation altogether, though it would be quite absurd to suppose that to accept it would be to condemn the practice. Spasm is a normal function of at least one of the organs of the body. That the brain is not damaged by the practice is proved by the fact that many people who claim to have had this experience repeatedly continue to exercise the ordinary avocations of life without diminished activity. We may dismiss then the physiological question. It throws no light on the main problem, which is the value of the testimony of the experience. Now this is a very difficult question, and raises the much larger question as the value of any testimony. Every possible thought has been doubted at some point or another, except the thought which can only be expressed by a note of interrogation. since to doubt the thought asserts it. For a full discussion, see The Soldier and the Hunchback, Equinox 1-1, or I-1, I don't know. But apart from this deep-seated philosophic doubt, there is a practical doubt of every day. The popular phrase, to doubt the evidence of one's senses, shows us that evidence is normally accepted, but a man of science does nothing of the sort. He is so well aware that his senses constantly deceive him, that he invents elaborate instruments to correct them, and he is further aware that the universe, which he can directly perceive through sense, is the minutest fraction of the universe, which he knows indirectly. For example, 4/5 of the air is composed of nitrogen. If anyone were to bring a bottle of nitrogen into the room, it would be exceedingly difficult to say what it was. Nearly all of the tests one could apply to it would be negative. His senses tell him little or nothing. Argon was only discovered at all by comparing the weight of chemically pure nitrogen with that of the nitrogen of the air. This had often been done, but no one had sufficiently fine instruments even to perceive the discrepancy. To take another example, a famous man of science asserted not so long ago that science could never discover the chemical composition of the fixed stars, yet this has been done, and with certainty. If you were to ask your man of science for his theory of the real, he would tell you that the ether, which cannot be perceived in any way by any way of the senses, or detected by any instruments, and which possesses qualities which are, to use ordinary language, impossible, it is very much more real than the chair he is sitting on. The chair is only one fact, and its existence is tested by one very fallible person, and the ether is necessary deduction from millions of stars, which have been verified again and again, and checked by every possible test of truth. There is therefore no there is no reason for rejecting anything on the ground that it is not directly perceived by the senses. To turn to another point, one of our tests of truth is the vividness of the impression. An isolated event in the past, no great importance may be forgotten, and if it be in some way recalled, one may find oneself asking, did I dream it, or did it really happen? What can never be forgotten is the catastrophic. The first death among the people that one loves, for example, would never be forgotten. For the first time one would realize what one had previously merely known. Such an experience sometimes drives people insane. Men of science have been known to commit suicide when their pet theory has been shattered. This problem has been discussed freely in Science and Buddhism, Time, The Camel, and other papers. This much only we need say in the place dhyana has to be classed in the most vivid and catastrophic of all experiences. This will be confirmed by anyone who has been there. What? Everything is being very, not only vague, but, I don't know, it's like, the experience. But the experience of what? You know, the thing. You're going to meditate and you're going to have an experience. And you'll know of the experience when you've experienced it. Alright, the experience, yes. And we can describe the experience by going off on one about something and then being like, but it's not like this, because you have to experience it. It's so obvious. I need another sip, hang on. That dog was trying so hard to get something out of the vending machine, and then he did it. I'm so proud of him. He was just ramming his head into it for ages, and then a little fucking gourd popped out. Good for him. I have experienced the experience. Don't worry. Once you experience it for yourself, you shall understand the experience of the experience. Got it in one. You're so right. Look at that little guy go! Look at that little guy go! Oh, he's moving. Oh, he's grooving. Go in the tube. Anyway. Oh my god. It is then difficult to overrate the value that such an experience has for the individual, especially as it is his entire conception of things, including his most deep-seated conception, the standard to which he has always referred to everything, his own self, that is overthrown. And when we try to explain it away as a hallucination, temporary suspension of the faculties or something similar, we find ourselves unable to do so. You cannot argue with a flash of lightning that has knocked you down. What do you mean? Any mere theory is easy to upset. One can find flaws in the reasoning process. One can assume that the premises are in some way false. But in this case, if one attacks the evidence for Dhyana, the mind is staggered by the fact that all other experience attacked on the same lines will fall much more easily. In whatever way we examine the result will always be the same. Dhyana may be false, but if so, so is everything else. What? Now the mind refuses to rest in a belief of the unreality of its own experiences. It may not be what it seems, but it must be something. And if, on the whole, ordinary life is something, how much more must that be by whose light ordinary life seems nothing? I promise you I didn't read that incorrectly. That's what it says. It may not be what it seems, but it must be something, and if, on the whole, ordinary life is something, how much more must that be by whose light ordinary life seems nothing? How much more must that be by whose light ordinary life seems nothing? These are just words, they have no meaning. The ordinary man sees the falsity and disconnectedness and purposelessness of dreams. He ascribes them rightly to a disordered mind. The philosopher looks upon waking life with similar contempt, and the person who has experienced dhyana takes the same view, but not by mere pale intellectual conviction. Reasons, however cognate, never convince even. But this man in dhyana has the same commonplace certainty that man has on waking from a nightmare. I wasn't falling down 1,000 flights of stairs, it was only a bad dream. Excuse me. Similarly comes the reflection of the man who has had experience of dhyana. I'm not that wretched insect, that imperceptible parasite of earth, it was only a bad dream. And as you could not convince the normal man that his nightmare was more real than his awakening, so you cannot convince the other that his dhyana was a hallucination, even though he is only too well aware that he has fallen from that state into normal life. It is probably rare for a single experience to upset thus radically the whole conception of the universe, just as sometimes, in the first moments of waking, there remains a half-doubt as to whether the dream or waking is real. But as one gains further experience, when dhyana is no longer a shock, when the student has had plenty of time to make himself at home with the new world, this conviction will become absolute. I need to fidget, I'm sorry. It should be remembered that at present there are no data for determining the duration of dhyana. One can only say that since it has certainly occurred between such and such hours, it must have lasted less than that time. Thus we see from Frita P's record, it can certainly occur in less than an hour and 5 minutes. Okay? Another rationalist consideration is this: the student has not been trying to excite the mind, but to calm it, not to produce any one thought, but to exclude all thoughts, for there is no connection between the object of meditation and the dhyana. Why must we suppose a breaking down of the whole process, especially as the mind bears no subsequent traces of any interference, such as pain or fatigue? Surely this once, if never again, the Hindu image expresses the simplest theory, that that image is that of a lake into which 5 glaciers move. These glaciers are the senses. While ice, the impressions, is breaking off constantly into the lake, the waters are troubled. If the glaciers are stopped, then the surface becomes calm. Then and only then it can reflect the unbroken disk of the sun. The sun is the soul or God. We should, however, avoid these terms for the present on account of their implications. Let us rather speak of this sun as some unknown thing whose presence has been masked by all things known and by the knower. It is possible, too, that our memory of dhyana is not of the phenomenon itself, but of the image left thereby on the mind. But this is true of all phenomena, as Beckley and Kant have proved beyond all question. This matter then need not concern us. Then why are you bringing it up? Let me go in depth into something that we don't need to worry about. We may, however, provisionally accept the view that dhyana is real, more real and thus of more importance to ourselves than all other experience. This state has been described not only by the Hindus and Buddhists, but by Mohammedans and Christians. In Christian writings, however, the deeply seated dogmatic bias has rendered their documents worthless to the average man. They ignore the essential conditions of dhyana and insist on the inessential to a much greater extent than the Indian writers. But to anyone with experience and some knowledge of comparative religion, the identity is certain. We may now proceed to samadhi. I don't know anything that has happened in like the past 4 chapters. And it's like, well, now you understand. Let's move on. Understand what? What? So wait. Was it trying to explain to me that I go into some form of meditation where I now experience nothing, and then experiencing nothing provides me with an experience of something, and that something, when I come out of it, I'm like, oh, that was it. You only know if you've gone into it once you come out of it. I think? I don't know. I don't know. Hang on. Let me just check something. Do 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 do. Okay, I'm gonna finish this like not chapter, but like this section before it goes on to the next bit. I'm gonna finish meditation basically, and then that'll be that. So we're on chapter 7, Samadhi. Only thing I can think of is clearing your mind of nothing. You'll understand the something better. I guess so? I guess? It's... I like how at the start of this, they were like, worry not, normal man. We've made this so very simple for you and your basic brain. And yet, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. More rubbish has been written about Samadhi than enough. We must endeavour to avoid adding to the heap. Even Patanjali, who is extraordinarily clear and practical in most things, begins to rave when he talks of it. Even if what he said were true, he should not have mentioned it, because it does not sound true, and we should make no statement that is, a priori improbable, without being prepared to back it up with the fullest proofs, but it is more than likely that his commentators have misunderstood him. The most reasonable statement of any acknowledged authority is that of Yajnavalkya, who says, by pranayama impurities of the body are thrown out, by dharana the impurities of the mind, by pratyahara the impurities of attachment, and by samadhi is taken off everything that hides the lordship of the soul. There is a modest statement in good literary form. We can only do that as well. What? Do as well as that? Okay. In the first place, what is the meaning of the term? Etymologically, Sam is the Greek uv. The English prefix sin meaning together with, adi means Lord, and reasonable translation of the whole world would be union with God, the exact term used by Christian mystics to describe their attainment. Now there is great confusion, because the Buddhists use the word samadhi to mean something entirely different, the mere faculty of attention. Thus with them, to think of a cat is to make samadhi on that cat. They use the word jhana to describe mystic states. This is excessively misleading, but as we saw in the last section, dhyana is the preliminary of samadhi, and of course jhana is merely the wretched plebeian Pali corruption of it. The note on that is, the vulgarism and provincialism of the Buddhist canon is infinitely repulsive to all nice minds. The attempt to use the terms of an egocentric philosophy to explain the details of a psychology whose principal doctrine is the denial of the ego was the work of a mischievous idiot. Let us unhesitatingly reject these abominations, these nastinesses of the beggars dressed in rags that they have snatched from corpses, and follow the etymological signification of the word as given above. What? Why are you so rude? Why are you so rude? Missile launcher, hey! Crowley's rather a trip, I know, right? Like, you'll go off on, like, a bunch of religious faff for ages, and then out of nowhere, here's a bunch of insults to one particular type of people for no reason. There are many kinds of samadhi. Some authors consider Atmadarshana, the universe as a single phenomenon without conditions, to be the first real samadhi. If we accept this, we must relegate many less exalted states to the class of dhyana. Patanjali enumerates a number of these states. To perform these on different things gives us magical powers, or so he says. These need not be debated here, and anyone who wants magic powers can get them in dozens of different ways. Like, it makes sense, but it doesn't. Also want his drugs. I don't know if you do. I don't know if you do. I mean, to be fair, they didn't kill him, because he lived for a long time. So stupid! Oh, it's so dumb. Okay. Power grows faster than desire. The boy who wants money to buy lead soldiers sets to work to obtain it, and by the time he's got it, wants something else instead. In all probability, something just beyond his means. Such is the splendid history of all spiritual advance. No one stops to take the reward. We shall therefore not trouble at all about what any samadhi may or may not bring us as far as its results in our lives are concerned. We began this book, it will be remembered, with considerations of death. Death has now lost all meaning. The idea of death depends on those of the ego, and of time. These ideas have been destroyed, and so death is swallowed up in victory. We shall now only be interested in what samadhi is in itself, and in the conditions which cause it. Let us try a final definition. Dhyana resembles samadhi in many respects. There is a union of the ego and the non-ego, and a loss of the senses of time and space, and casualty. Duality in any form is abolished. The idea of time involves that of two consecutive things, that of space two non-coincidence things, that of causality two connected things. These dhyanic conditions contradict those of normal thought, but in samadhi they are very much more marked than in dhyana, and while in the latter it seems like a simple union of two things, in the former it appears as if all things rush together and united. One might say that in dhyana there is still this quality latent, that one existing was opposed to the many non-existing. In samadhi, the many and the one are united in a union of existence with non-existence. This definition is not made from reflection, but from memory. I think my house is haunted. The door just slammed really hard for no reason. Do you have any windows open? Further, it is easy to master the trick or knack of dhyana. After a while, one can get into that state without preliminary practice, and looking at it from this point, excuse me, one seems able to reconcile the two meanings of the word, which we debated in the last section. From below, the dhyana seems like a trance, an experience so tremendous that one cannot think of anything bigger, while from above it seems merely a state of mind as natural as any other. Frater P, before he had samadhi, wrote of dhyana, perhaps as a result of the intense control of a nervous storm breaks. This we call dhyana. Samadhi is but an expansion of this, so far as I can see. I can't have windows open, it just snowed. Oh, okay. Snowy. I don't think I had any snow in winter this year. Did I have any snow? I don't think I had any snow. Look at this fucked up little creature. Big head! I got big head. Let's go, big head. 5 years later, he would not take this view. He would say perhaps that dhyana was a flowing of the mind in one unbroken current from the ego to the non-ego, without consciousness of either, accompanied by a crescent wonder and bliss. He can understand how that is the natural result of dhyana, but he cannot call dhyana in the same way the precursor of samadhi. Perhaps he does not really know the conditions which induce samadhi. He can produce spontaneity. With samadhi, this is unfortunately not the case. He can probably get it at will, but he cannot say exactly how or tell how long it might take him, and he could not be sure of it getting it all. Snowing all the time here? I have rain, and today it was very windy. You have mint ice cream? Bro! Bro, I want mint ice cream. One feels sure that one can walk a mile long a level road. One knows conditions, and it would have to be a very extraordinary set of circumstances that would stop one. But though it would be equally fair to say I have climbed the Matterhorn and I know I can climb it again, yet there are all sorts of more or less probable circumstances, any one of which would prevent success. Now we do know this, that if thought is kept single and steady, dhyana results. We do not know whether an intensification of this is sufficient to cause samadhi, or whether some other circumstances are required. One is science, the other empiricism. Discuss, participate, give. What? I don't know that one. Discus? Oh, discus! Right, you're chucking it at me. Thank you. Thank you. One author says, unless memory deceives, that 12 seconds steadiness is dharana, 144 seconds dhyana, and 1728 seconds samadhi, and Vivekananda, commenting on Patanjali, makes dhyana a mere prolongation of dharana, but says further, suppose I were meditating on a book, and I gradually succeeded in concentrating the mind on it, and perceiving only the internal sensation, the meaning unexpressed in any form, that state of dhyana is called samadhi. Other authors are inclined to suggest that samadhi results from meditating on subjects that are in themselves worthy. For example, Vivekananda says, think of any holy subject, and explains this as follows, that does not mean any wicked subject. I'm tossing the ice cream at you. Yes, thank you. Frater P would not like to say definitely whether he ever got dhyana from common objects. He gave up the practice after a few months and meditated on the chakras. Also, his dhyana became so common that he gave up recording it. But if he wished to do this minute, he would choose something to excite his godly fear or holy awe or wonderment. There is no apparent reason why dhyana should not occur when thinking of any common object of the seashore, such as a blue pig. But Frater P's constant reference to this as the usual object of his meditation need not be taken to the letter? Is that it? Why are you just speaking in French? Stop. His records of meditation contain no reference to this remarkable animal. What? What? Why are we talking about blue pigs? What did I miss? It will be a good thing when organized research has determined the conditions of samadhi, but in the meantime, there seems no particular objection to our following tradition, and using the same objects of meditation as our predecessors, with a single exception which we shall note in due course. The first class of objects for serious meditation, as opposed to preliminary practice in which one should keep to simple recognizable objects whose definiteness is easy to maintain, is various parts of the body. The Hindus have an elaborate system of anatomy and physiology which has apparently no reference to the facts of the dissecting room. Prominent in this class are the 7 chakras, which will be described in Part 2. There are also various nerves equally mythical. Mythical nerves? The second class is objects of devotion, such as the idea or form of the deity, or the heart or body of your teacher, or or of some man whom you respect profoundly. This practice is not to be commended because it implies a bias of the mind. You can also meditate on your dreams. This sounds superstitious, but the idea that you have already a tendency, independent of your conscious will, to think of those things, which will consequently be easier to think of than others, that this is the explanation is evident from the nature of the preceding and subsequent classes. You can also meditate on anything that especially appeals to you. But if it appeals to me, then doesn't it excite my mind? And we don't want to excite my mind. You're contradicting yourself. But in all this, one feels inclined to suggest that it will be better and more convincing if the meditation is directed to an object which in itself is apparently unimportant. One does not want the mind to be excited in any way, even by adoration. See the 3 meditative methods in Liber HHH. So I was right. Okay, well, why mention that I could use something that appeals to me if I'm not supposed to use something that appeals to me? Just pick something. At the same time, one would not like to deny positively that it is much easier to take some idea towards which the mind would naturally flow. The Hindus assert that the nature of the object determines the samadhi, that is, the nature of those lower samadhis which confer so-called magic powers. For example, there are yoga pravitri, meditating on the tip of the nose. One obtains what may be called the ideal smell, that is, a smell which is not any particular smell, but it is the archetypal smell, of which all actual smells are modification. I can't say smell anymore. It is the smell which is not a smell. This is the only reasonable description. For the experience being contrary to reason, it is the only reasonable that that the words describing it should be contrary to reason too. What? Hey, Puke Boy, want a burger? I actually had a burger for dinner today. Similarly, concentration on the tip of the tongue gives the ideal taste. On the dorsum of the tongue, ideal contact. Every atom of the body comes into contact with every atom in the universe all at once, is the description Bhikkhu Ananda Mateya gives of it. The root of the tongue gives the ideal sound, and the pharynx the ideal sight. The samadhi par excellence, however, is Atmadashana, which for some, and those not the least instructed, the first real samadhi, for even the visions of God and of the self are tainted by form. In Atmadashana, the all is manifested as the one. It is the universe freed from its conditions. Not only are all forms and ideas destroyed, but also those conceptions which are implicit in our ideas of those ideas. Each part of the universe has become the whole, and phenomena and noumena are no longer opposed. But it is quite impossible to describe this state of mind. One can only specify some of the characteristics, and that in language which forms no image in mind. It is possible for anyone who experiences it to bring back any adequate memory, nor can we conceive a state of transcending this. There is, however, a very much higher state called Shivadarshana, of which is only necessary to say that it is the destruction of the previous state, its annihilation, and to understand this blotting out, one must not imagine nothingness, the only name for it, as negative but positive. The normal mind is a candle in a darkened room. Throw open the shutters and the sunlight makes the flame invisible. That is a fair image of dhyana. But the mind refuses to find a simile for Atmadashana. It seems merely ineffective to say that the rushing together of all the host of heaven would similarly blot out the sunlight, but if we do say so and wish to form a further image of Shivadarshana, we must imagine ourselves as suddenly recognizing that this universal blaze is darkness, not light extremely dim compared with some other light, but darkness itself. It is not the change from the minute to the vast, or even from the finite to the infinite. It is the recognition that the positive is merely the negative. The ultimate truth is perceived not only as false, but as the logical contradictory of truth. It is quite useless to elaborate this theme, which has baffled all other minds hitherto. We have tried to say as little as possible rather than as much as possible, are you sure? Still further from our present purpose, it would be to criticize the innumerable discussions which have taken place as to whether this is the ultimate attainment or what it confers. It is enough if we say that even the first and most transitory dhyana repays 1,000-fold the pains we may have taken to attain it, and there is this anchor for the beginner, that his work is cumulative. Every act directed towards attainment builds up a destiny which must someday come to fruition. All may all attain. What are we attaining? I don't know what we're attaining. I don't know. I'm having another sip of lemonade. Right, now we're on to the summary of this chapter. And then I think once I've finished with the summary, we're going to see what's up with the dogs. We're going to see what's happened with all the dogs. Okay, this is a bunch of questions and answers. What is genius and how is it produced? Let us take several specimens of the species and try to find some one thing common to all which is not found in other species. Is there any such thing? Yes, all geniuses have the habit of concentration of thought, and usually need long periods of solitude to acquire this habit. In particular, the greatest religious geniuses have all retired from the world at one time or another in their lives, and begun to preach immediately on their return. Of what advantage is such a retirement? Would one expect that man who so acted would One would expect that a man who so acted would find himself on his return out of touch with his civilization, and in every way less capable than when he left. But each claims, though in different language, to have gained in this absence some superhuman power. Do you believe this? It becomes us ill to reject the assertions of those who are admittedly the greatest of mankind until we can refute them by proof, or at least explain how they may have been mistaken. In this case, each teacher left instructions for us to follow. The only scientific method is for us to repeat their experiments, and so confirm or disprove their results. But their instructions differ so widely. Only insofar as each was bound by conditions of time, race, climate, and language, there is essential identity in the method. Indeed. That's not a question. It was the great work of the life of Frater Perdurabo to prove this. Studying each religious practice of each great religion on the spot, he was able to show the identity and diversity of all, and to formulate a method free from all dogmatic bias, and based only on the ascertained facts of anatomy, physiology, and psychology. Can you give a brief abstract of this method? The main idea is that the infinite, the absolute, God, the oversoul, or whatever you may prefer to call it, is always present, but veiled or masked by the thoughts of the mind, just as one cannot hear a heartbeat in a noisy city. Wobble dogmatic? Yes? Question? Then to obtain knowledge of that, it is only necessary to still all thoughts. But in sleep all thought is stilled. True, perhaps, roughly speaking, but the perceiving function is stilled also. Then you wish to obtain a perfect vigilance and attention of the mind, uninterrupted by the rise of thoughts. Yes. And how do you proceed? Firstly, we still the body by the practice called asana, and secure its ease and the regularity of its functions by pranayama. Thus, no messages from the body will disturb the mind. Secondly, by yama and niyama, we still the emotions and passions, and thus prevent them arising to disturb the mind. Thirdly, by pratyahara, we analyze the mind yet more deeply, and begin to control and suppress thought in a general of whatever nature. Fourthly, we suppress all other thoughts by a direct concentration upon a single thought. This process, which leads to the highest results, consists of three parts: dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, grouped under the single term samayama. How can I obtain further knowledge and experience of this? The AA is an organization whose heads have obtained by personal experience to the summit of this science. They have founded a system by which everyone can equally attain, and that with an ease and speed which was previously impossible. The first grade of their system is that of student. A student must possess the following books: The Equinox, I've got that one, 777, Nox on Par, collected works of A. Crowley, Tannhauser, The Sword of Song, Time, Eleusis, 3 vol, and Raja Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. I need these books. I need this list, and I need all these books. The Shiva Samhita, or Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the Tao Te King and the Writings of Guangze, the Spiritual Guide by Miguel de Molinos, Retel et dogme de la haute magie by Eliphas Levi, the Goetia of Le Megaton of Solomon the King. I have a Solomon book, but I don't think it's that one. These books should be well studied in case any conjunction with the second part, Magick of this book 4. What? These books should be well studied in any case in conjunction with the second part, Magick of this book. Okay. The study of these books will give a grounding in the intellectual side of their system. After 3 months, the student is examined in these books, and if his knowledge of them is found satisfactory, he may become a probationer, receiving Liber LXI, the secret holy book Liber LXV. Secret? Why is it secret? The principal point of this grade is that the probationer has a master appointed, whose experience can guide him in his work. He may select any practices that he prefers, but in any case, he must keep an exact record so that he may discover the relation of cause and effect in his working, and so that the AA may judge of his progress and direct his further studies. After a year of probation, he may be admitted neophyte of the AA and receive the secret holy book Liber VII. These are the principal instructions for practice which every probationer should follow out. Liber EAO III XXX CLXXV CC CCVI CMXIII. Great. And now, is this a poem by Crowley? Fuck yeah, let's go. There are 7 keys to the Great Gate, being 8 in 1 and 1 in 8. First, let the body of these 3 be still, bound by the cerements of will. Corpse rigid, thus thou mayst abort the fidget babes that tease the thought. Next, let thy breath rhythm be low, easy, regular, and slow, so that thy being be in tune with the great sea's pacific swoon. Third, let thy life be pure and calm, swayed softly as wilderness palm. As a windless palm. Fourth, let the will to live be bound to the one of love of the profound. Fifth, let the thought divinely free from the sense observe its entity. Why can't I read this? Watch every thought that springs enhance, hour after hour thy vigilance. Intense and keen, turned inward miss, no atom of analysis. Sixth, on one thought securely pinned, still every whisper of the wind. So like a flame straight and unstirred, burn up thy being in one word. Next, still that ecstasy prolong, thy meditation steep and strong. Slaying even God, should he distract thy attention from the chosen act. Last, all these things in one powered time that midnight blossom flowered. The oneness is, yet even in this, my son, thou shall not do amiss. If thou restrain the expression shoot, thy glance to rapture's darkling root, discarding name, form, sight, and stress, even of this high consciousness. Pierce to the heart, I leave thee here, thou art the master I revere. Thy radiance that rolls afar, O brother of the silver star. That's what AA means, it's silver star, but I don't remember what the Latin is. I don't remember. Okay. We're done with meditation. We loot. I'm sorry, that dog was called Loot. Right. It's time to check up on the dogs. It's time to check up on the dogs. Olive is passing on. No, Olive! We barely got to know you. No. Olive! Op. There are much fewer dogs than there were when I was doing it. They're like fucking dying as well. The automated ones are not very, they're not very independent. Olive, get up, you rat! Look at this fucker! What is this? Hang on, turn this shit off now. What did we get? What's new? What's new? What's this? What is that? What is that? Oh, it's a dog piece. That's like the tail? I think that's the tail. He's sneaky around. Okay. Got a new room. What is this? Toilet paper roll? What do I do with this? This room is so comfy. Oh, I'm glad. Scary. Ghosts have arrived. You can now use memorials to summon them yourself. Okay. Ghosts. Caterpillar sculpture. I was hiding. Dessert food dispenser, not desert. Dessert food dispenser. Phonograph. Cool. Well, there's nothing in this room. Maybe we can put some stuff in this room. This can have the phonograph. A nice big phonograph. Especially since it's like 11 PM, so it's perfect. It's nearly 10 for me. You must be, in Europe or something. Giant dessert dispenser. Where did I... Wait. I had, a room where I was putting all the flowers. I don't think it was this one. It was this one, this one as well. This is the nature room. Nature room. There we go. South African, but same time zone. Oh, of course. My bad. What? Is it? Okay. I don't know what this does. I don't know what it does. I don't know what it does. It's a toy apparently, but sure. How many eggs? I have 1 egg. Let's breed some dogs. Let's breed this Trusty, this fucking freak. And I still have Proto in storage because I don't want him to die. Let's go. Whoa, that's a huge dog. That's a huge dog. Okay, huge dog. And I like this one. Oh my god. Oh, this one's got eyelashes. I like these giant dogs. Huge. Bigums boyas. I never managed to make one with, like, no legs. I don't know how I would get that to happen at this point. That one's got a huge nose! They're getting very square. What's wrong with this one? Some of them have really stupid noses. It's got such a long face! Okay, I'm making ones that look like horses now. They gotta be like horse-shaped. There we go. Horse face. You've got a bendy horse face. This one's very green. Why are you so green? Who's got the wonkiest schnoz? You've got a pretty wonky schnoz. You're fucking going apeshit. Question, if I may ask, what's on the pain wheel thing? Oh, let me get up. Boop. There you go. We got whoever spins gets a doodle. Dota AHC is I have to win a game with every character in the game. Fucking Spud speedrun. People like it when I speedrun dog shit point and clicks. Spin again +1, you get 2. Strawberry voice for 15 minutes. Spin a video, Spinner gets to pick a video to put on. Hubman voice for 15 minutes. Old man voice for 15 minutes. Read a chapter of My Immortal, which we haven't done in fucking ages. Sad dog for 15 minutes, which is so dumb, but it has fans. I oo-woo 50 times. Oo-woo voice for 15 minutes. Most of it's just me doing funny voices. But yeah. Hi, Ant. Not My Immortal? What's wrong with My Immortal? Don't you like it? Ooh, whoops. How the fuck did I do that? Hang on. I moved something in my sources list. There we go. Okay. My Immortal's the Harry Potter thing? Yes, it is. The weird Harry Potter fanfiction. Just being reminded of that gives me nightmares. It's fine. It's fine. There's nothing strange about it. Uh-oh, I don't have very much stability left. Oh, this dog is fucked. Oh, this dog is pretty fucked. Oh, there we go. I'm okay with this. This is my dog. My final dog. Oh, hey, Thornius. Now, I don't know how you get more of this weird shit to make sense, or if it does even start to make more sense. I'm not sure how this works. But you gotta watch it at least once when you play, like, come on. Smash them together! They love each other! Yay! Egg! It's a fuck bot, obviously. But I want to know what all the glyph things mean. You know? Egg. What is this? Who are you? Who is this? All of these dogs are like a similar color. That's mildly horrifying? What do you mean? What's wrong with that? I think it's just fine. There's a hot dog in there. Oh yeah, we got new foods. Dog biscuit. Man-made and dog craved. Churro. Birthday cake. Donut. Jelly. Macaron. Burnt dog biscuit. Oh no. All the calories with none of the flavor. And some mystery things. Okay. Oops. Yay. Bradley, that's a great name. It's so droopy. He's got such a droopy face. Oh, he's such a droopy dog. Hey Bradley, do you want to go try out the new food? You want a burnt dog biscuit? Oh, you're not hungry though, because you're new. Actually, if it's burnt, it'd have less calories. True. Carmen has no calories? Yeah. Quiet. Lazy. What a mood. Okay. Save. I don't know why, but Burnt Dog Biscuit sounds like a name someone would have on League. That's so true. Okay, I'm Dunsky. Dunsky. Beep. I also need to turn off this fucking weird meditation music. Stop. Stop. Oh my god. Alright. Wah.
Grimbus.
Ah, thank you for the Grimbus worm. Are you done for today? I'm not sure. I don't know. I know I don't feel like doing more wobbly dogs, and I don't feel like doing more reading. I feel like it's probably really obvious. I think I may have busted my voice by reading for like 2.5 hours straight. Like, it doesn't hurt, but I definitely sound different. Bye bye, Mr. Stream. I don't know if I'm going yet. I don't know if I want to do more or what I would do. I don't know. Medicinal charcoal definitely isn't absorbed by the body. Oh god. Fucking charcoal. Part of me wants to stay streaming, but also I feel like I don't have anything to do, so it wouldn't be very exciting. I would just sort of be here with my strange raspy voice. There's an apple juice here that's colored black with medicinal charcoal, and it makes the morning after terrifying. I'm not surprised. That sounds insane. Also, don't you have to be really careful with, like, ingesting charcoal? Boy. I guess I'll I'll leave. I'll head off. I don't want to just sort of sit around doing fuck all. Neutralizes a bunch of medications, so randomly being added to a bunch of foods for the vibe is really strange. Yeah, true. Sad? You want me to stay, but I don't have anything to do. Rest up. I mean, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be playing Dishonored 2. I remember to install it because I've got such a big brain. Hendrik piss in your fish tank. I'm not doing that! No! Dishonored 2, fuck yes. Yeah! Dishonored 2. Okay, let's find someone to raid. Let's go. And I'll see you guys tomorrow instead. And hopefully my voice won't be fucked. I always end up reading way too much at once, and then it like makes me go all crispy.
Bye bye then, sailor boy.
Bye bye, sailor boy. Are you sick? I'm not actually. I mean, I
Bye-bye
had a
then,
bit of
Sailor
like,
Boy.
bye bye Sailor Boy. I had a bit of snifflies
Bye-bye
earlier.
then, Sailor
Bye
Boy.
bye Sailor Boy, because of like hay fever or something, I think. But I was fine when I started, and then I sort of beansed myself. Just been talking too much. Yeah, I was reading. I'm silly. I'm a silly boy.
Bye-bye then,
Oh, go
Sailor
see
Boy.
Small's playing Prey. If you guys want to watch a fucking Arcane Studios game, let's go. Let's do that. Because I think that's one that I'm not actually gonna play, so you can watch Small play. Which Prey? Oh, the Arcane one. I assume. I'm assuming. I'm making huge assumptions right now, actually. I just see that he's playing Prey, so we'll have to find out together. But thank you guys so much for coming. Have a great rest of your day or night or whatever's, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow, where I'll be playing Dishonored 2. Maybe I'll even try and go stealthy and not get shit ending, but we'll see. Bye bye everyone. Bye 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 bye.